This is The Backlash, a weekly discussion about the past, present, and future of the Western world. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves. Hi, fellas.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi. Doing great.
Boom, and we're here.
And we're
here.
live.
And we're live.
I've got Dave Riley with me. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Rebecca?
Great. I mean, we're in this this tundra-like weather.
Isn't it wonderful?
No, I'm really sick of it.
I love it. We've got like 6 inches, 7 inches outside right now.
Vince's dream.
You got 6 inches? That's my dream.
I got there first, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Vince James.
Hey, how's it going? Good afternoon. We are here. We're early. 4 o'clock.
We're
4
late.
p.m.
We're
What are you
actually
talking?
late.
We're actually like
Yeah.
14 minutes late.
Earlier.
Oops.
Earlier
Hi,
than normal.
Cameron. Cameron McGregor. Welcome.
Yeah, it's not 4 o'clock where it matters. Just saying. Good evening, everybody.
As you guys have noticed, we have started streaming at 4 p.m., allegedly at 4 p.m.
Around
on
4 p.m. Italian Standard Time.
Pacific Standard Time. This is our new time slot, so we thought it would be better. We would capture some of that East Coast earlier viewing since it's 7:15 there. So thank you so much for joining us at this new time slot. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Send your super chats to thebacklash.net/super chat.
Yes.
We will read all of your questions, comments, snark.
You can go to thebacklash.net/super chat, and you have your choice of sending a super chat from Streamlabs, PowerChat.live, and Entropy. So whichever platform you are already on, you can go ahead and send your super chats from there.
Yep.
Send your money.
Please.
Send it to us
We're
immediately.
sick of giving away content for free. We're sick of giving away cleavage for free around here. You better fucking send your money.
I thought we were cussing on the show.
Pay
This
up.
is a family show,
This is a
allegedly.
family show. It's
Did I say a bad word?
No.
Oh, he said a bad word.
He said he's been naughty today.
No.
It's not great.
Oh, boy.
Also, join our Subscribe Star so we can get some monthly donations. We have been doing some interviews. You get full interviews on Subscribe Star or Patreon at subscribestar.com/the_, or our Patreon at...
Slash the backslash.
Did I say that?
You can get to all of it on our website by going to the Support the Show tab. We have an Amazon wish list, a wonderful Bitcoin fundraiser where you can actually send us Bitcoin. We've had 2 contributions so far,
Let's
which is
go.
fantastic. Got to get us to our goal of 1 Bitcoin. Our Subscribe Star, our Patreon, you can donate directly on the website using a credit card or with Bitcoin. And
Bitcoin
also,
gives you bobs.
you can contact us. You can send us anonymous tips. You can send us information that you would like relayed on the show. If you
Stories.
don't think
Yep.
that we're covering the right stories, you can let us know by sending us an email. on our
Bitcoin for
website.
bobs and vagana.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be a
right,
long
let's
show.
go.
It is. It is.
be a long
We've been talking
show.
about the vision of the show, and like my vision is that we're serious people.
We are
Serious.
human beings,
Yeah.
real human beings.
We have a lot to talk about
All right.
this week. I know that, okay, so I was on the quartering this week. I was filling in for Jeremy on Quartercast, and everybody was so angry that we, in the live chat, that we were talking about this Ashley St. Clair thing. Like, oh, this is not a big deal. What one guy does, why does this affect society, blah, blah. And I feel like everybody that's talking about the gossipy elements of this, although it has been kind of fun, they're missing the bigger picture. We're going to talk about that today. What does Elon Musk's procreation strategy portend for the future of the West? There is so much there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Trump's IVF EO. You look like you want to plug something.
No.
Oh,
I don't want to necessarily plug something, but we could plug something because we do have our very first sponsor, which is
Let's go.
Antelope Hill Book Publishing. Antelope Hill is America's leading publisher of dissident books, including a wide array of both original works and new first-time translations of important historical titles. Their catalog focuses on bringing you books that mainstream publishers won't touch, books that challenge the ruling orthodoxy on history, politics, and the twisted nature of the system that we live under. Among their titles are works like The Open Society Playbook, a deep dive into the web of NGOs and shadowy government funding that has recently come under fire in the USAID scandal for spreading left-wing ideological corruption at home and abroad. We are also proud to publish The American Regime by Christian Secor, initially written anonymously by the author while in prison for his actions in January 6th, examining how the American Leviathan functions. If you're listening to this show, you won't be disappointed in these or any of the other books available at Antelope Hill. You can view their catalog and make purchases directly from antelopehillpublishing.com. Supporting independent creators and businesses directly. Check us out today. And
AntelopeHillPublishing.com. That's AntelopeHillPublishing.com.
They have been so cool. You guys support us by supporting our sponsors. They have been so cool when I've been communicating with them. They asked me 0 questions about how far we're going to go on this show. And so check them out, Antelope Hill. We really appreciate it.
Here, where's this? I wanted to plug, where's the book? This one right here, the Open Society Playbook. I think this is the one that they were talking about. How these NGOs control our discourse.
Well, that's kind of like what Cameron was talking about the other day, and how Elon Musk can single-handedly basically end the whole South Africa situation by just like using his money to build NGOs and fund the right wing, not just like with South Africa, but like the right wing all across the West. We have nothing like that.
No,
I mean we've got like billionaires and I remember traveling across America with Cam. You know, we've got like billionaires and millionaires that are like donating to like the Republican Party. And like that money does nothing. It does nothing for us. It does nothing but line the pockets of the politicians who are only worried about getting reelected, and they won't go, to the places that they need to go in terms of rhetoric, in terms of messaging, in terms of passing laws. So we need something like that.
Yes, we do.
And is he going to do it? I don't think so. Because,
Elon Musk?
Yeah.
No.
Because he's busy repopulating the world with his very necessary genes.
Oh my God.
Like so necessary. This is what's pissing me off about this. Everybody's like, well, he has great genes. I'm like, but that doesn't necessarily transfer to his offspring because he's impregnating a lot of Jewish sluts. So it's like, what's the plan here?
I don't know if there is a plan.
One of his kids already trans himself. He's basically an absentee father. We're going to talk about all of that. So do you have this People article? Let's just go through a little bit about his kids, just briefly, because everybody knows what's going on. He has 13 kids.
Oh my gosh.
With 4 different women.
That's incredible.
So the first, and this is all, the majority were born through IVF. It's a disaster. It's custody disputes, marriage failures. He supposedly has some disputes with Amber Heard over embryos that they created while they were together. And then one of his kids with his first wife died of SIDS. And at 10 weeks, or 10 weeks later, like immediately after the baby died of SIDS, she was already going through the IVF process.
What?
Yeah. Because she just wanted to like deal with that by having another kid. So she said, I buried my feelings coping with Nevada's death by making my first visit to an IVF clinic. Less than 2 months later, Elon and I planned to get pregnant again as swiftly as possible. Within the next 5 years, I gave birth to twins and triplets, all through IVF. So if you know anything about IVF, doing a twin pregnancy, very dangerous. Doing a triplet pregnancy, unethical. They won't even implant multiple embryos anymore because there's such a high rate of issues with the kids. So there are major ethical issues with what he's doing here. And I think that it says a lot about society. It says a lot about Musk. And I think that everybody is missing the larger story here. So this Ashley St. Clair thing.
When was this article written?
When?
Yeah. Can you go up to the top?
Yeah, here.
This week.
Oh.
It was written on Valentine's Day.
Everyone was saying that he had 14 kids on Twitter.
No, this was the 13th kid.
Oh, okay. Got it.
You just said something that reminded me of a tweet that I saw, and now I can't remember what you said, and I wanted to pull it up.
Was it about Jewish sluts? Because I did say that.
Well, we do have this. We've got hippie resident on Twitter that says that all of these women. Here, how do I make this bigger? It's just not working.
I could not independently verify that Grimes is Jewish.
No.
Can you? Does Grok know?
Grok may tell us the truth.
Are all of Elon's women baby mamas Jewish? Let's see.
Grok just tells you to go to hell. Okay.
There is no definitive, publicly verified evidence. It says, no conclusive evidence that she's Jewish. And then we've got Claire Boucher, French, Canadian, Ukrainian, and Italian. She was raised Catholic according to interviews. No evidence she's Jewish.
Okay.
I mean, Ashley St. Clair is for sure.
Ashley St. Clair definitely is. So maybe that's wrong. I mean, I guess, here's the Grimes saying, my family left Ukraine because it wasn't children.
Oh, then she's definitely Jewish.
And then you've got Shivon Zillis, renowned Jewish entrepreneur. I don't know.
So
we need to fix Grok then.
Yeah, really. There are questions about why he is doing this. Is it possible that Ashley St. Clair is the most recent of a series of Mossad honeypots? How crazy do I sound right now?
I don't think you sound that crazy.
I think she's too retarded. I think the take is young men should hate women more after seeing this.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. But did she entrap Elon? We do have a tweet along. Milo has just been viciously going after her.
Which
it's right down where your cursor is.
And
This
Elon
one? Nope,
responded.
Go up.
Did you see
my
Elon
own
responded?
No, it's number one.
Elon Musk. Oh, this one. Yeah, Milo he's pretty savage.
Elon responded to Milo. You see that under
And he
there?
said, whoa.
He said, whoa.
Here it is. Whoa.
Yeah.
Ashley St. Clair plotted for half a decade to ensnare Elon Musk. And it says here,
Well,
this is
read
her
the
and,
first one here. I need
this
to
is
get.
her and Greg Price talking
Yeah.
back and forth. He's got a kid with a woman already. It seems unlikely to work out. And Ashley says, well, he actually has 7 kids and goes through women pretty fast, laughing, crying.
Right, because she
face.
says, I need to get Elon Musk's attention for a marriage proposal. That's what she says up
And
there.
then Elon says, whoa. I don't know why I can't zoom in.
Yeah, it doesn't let you.
It's not letting me zoom on. It also used to let me.
So what do we know about Ashley St. Clair? All right.
A lot. I mean, she's a mutual of mine on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've always gotten along great. you
Flex.
know? Probably not going to be mutuals for much longer. Vince, were you with us at AFPAC 1 when she passed out drunk in my car for 3 hours?
I wasn't
What?
in the car, no.
You didn't know about this?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I
well.
thought I didn't want this to turn into like a tawdry gossip fest about Ashley St. Clair, but please tell me more.
I'm kind of like an old man. Like when the event's over, I just go back to my Airbnb and go to sleep. Hang on.
Wait, so she just drank too much and then fell asleep in your
Well,
car?
we were at Harry's with like Cernovich and Nick and like Michelle Malkin and a few other people.
Are you Mossad?
No, I'm not.
You're kind of swarthy.
I'm a little greasy. I'm a little too greasy. I'm an Italian. I got the grease going on. But no, so we were at Harry's. We were all drinking and having a great time. And we were getting ready to go to Nick's party where Mossad agent Laura Loomer showed up. No, I'm kidding. But she got very drunk, and a friend of hers that we were already driving was like, hey, wait a minute. I need to run out and get Ashley because she's drunk and, I need to get her. So we like circled the block a few times, and she got Ashley. She went in the passenger seat of the car, and by the time that we finished driving out to the harbor, she was passed out, cold. Not that there's. I mean, you can drink. You're allowed to drink. I mean, maybe you not drink too much. She was like what, in her late 20s at the time.
I have
so
no idea
that's
how old she is. So
to be expected. She's 31.
I also read that she was 26.
That's a lie.
Oh, okay.
She's 31.
All right. I don't know anything about this sex laptop thing. Vince, you're going to have to clue me in. And make it quick, because this is the part of this that I don't want to focus on.
Well, it should be. I mean,
Why-
she's
it's
just a
also-
gold-digging whore. To
Well,
be
yeah,
honest.
I know.
that's
Well, we
what-
all know that, though.
That's what, I mean, it's right there. You saw that tweet. I mean, she's been seeking this. She's been trying to do this for a while.
She's been trying to get with an African for a very long time.
Well, she has succeeded in that. So
I mean that's what she used to go by. That was her name. I mean, if you just type in sex laptop on Twitter, it'll bring up her account. That was her.
And then
that was where she went
we've
to.
also got this one. There was another one before sex laptop. There was Optivites or something like that. I don't know.
Optatives. She looks like a child.
She basically was 15, I think, at the time. We're gonna get nuked from Twitter for this.
Why?
Oh, I mean, because we're doing a piece about Elon Musk's baby mama.
Well,
I don't think he cares.
he responded to Milo's tweet, so I don't think
said,
he likes her
"Whoa."
too much.
Well, I mean, so Why did she do this on Valentine's Day?
Because it was that this is how women work. She can't get a hold of him. She's had his baby. She wants more money. And she's like, I am going to create. It was symbolic. This was a symbolic woman move, of course. You guys don't get chicks.
No, that's
Cameron
the take.
does. He gets
That's
it.
the take. It's a woman thing. It's a woman move.
She also was making tons of money on Twitter, which I think is relevant. Now, I have like 50 million impressions. I think the entire year I've made like $1,000 on Twitter. I don't know how she was making this much money.
Let's see what she was making. Gotten a lot of questions about this.
Scroll up.
No, here's the list.
Oh my Lord.
2,000, 2,013. That's every 2 weeks. Like,
And then there was a month where she made like 10 grand.
Holy crap.
Scroll
Yeah.
up.
Scroll up. You mean go to your tweet?
No.
This one?
Her first tweet. Click on that and go up. Yeah, there you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
$7,526.
Right. So there's some speculation that Elon allowed this to happen, you know,
Right.
that he boosted her account or whatever. Okay. So was there anything else, Tawdry, that you wanted to address about?
Well,
about
yeah.
her?
I mean, hold on. Let's see. What is Vince making? Vince is making.
I got half the impressions she got, and she cut out the time period.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's incredible.
Yep.
Incredible.
So it doesn't make any sense, obviously.
It's all arbitrary.
Because if you read her tweet, she says, well, it's based on impressions. It's like,
I don't know if it's based on
obviously
impressions
not.
or if it's based on how Elon Musk pays child support.
I have a higher engagement rate than she does.
Is this how?
So something's going on. Right.
Is this how Elon is paying?
Elon pays child support
Yeah.
through X
I
monetization.
gotta like that one.
Okay. So there are bigger questions here, and I want to get Cameron's input about this especially. So what does this say about the current dating market? You astutely, in your own way, pointed out that men should hate women more because of this. And I think that that's a good point. There's a lot more there. But this reminded me of this manosphere thing, alpha fucks, beta bucks, right? Isn't this the ultimate beta bucks? Because you look at Elon Musk, he's not an attractive man. You know, he's like a doughy, pale, old guy, super wealthy.
Where's that
And
Ari Emanuel picture?
I know. It's
No,
really
don't show that. We'll definitely get de-verified if you show that.
And so it seems like in this modern dating game that wealth trumps physical attractiveness, physical strength. Has it always been like this? Does this represent something new in the dating market, Cameron?
Yeah, I don't enjoy the tawdry nature of these topics either, but I do think this is noteworthy. And I'll just give you three things right off the bat. The first is I do think it's worth watching reading Walter Isaacson's book about Elon Musk, because it's there's a lot of revealing information about his childhood, and it seems as though Musk was a very traumatized young man. He was certainly an outcast. He was ostracized. He was very idiosyncratic, definitely an egghead, intellectually advanced, but socially limited, shall we say. We'll put it nicely like that. And almost certainly an incel to begin with. So somebody that did not get a lot of sexual attention from the opposite sex, probably didn't have much status whatsoever. I say that because I think that Elon Musk revels in this attention. I think it sort of boosts his fragile ego on some level, which in and of itself may not necessarily be problematic, except that the second point is from time immemorial, societies have leveraged women, excuse me, females, to entrap and compromise powerful men. And whether Musk understands that or not, excuse me, I think he is. I think he is very definitely entrapped. And that raises questions about what he's doing, whether he represents us, whether he's untoward, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that revelations about that will be forthcoming if this administration goes off the rails. And I think that it probably will. Never mind the nature of the people that are courting him, okay? When you're operating at that level of wealth, you have to be very careful. You have to be careful with your wealth. You have to be careful with your reputation. You have to be careful with the women that you sleep with. he appears to be cavalier about all of it because I think for in his mind, he is an alpha tech bro, okay? And he's sort of demonstrating his social proof. He's flexing, if you will. The third issue is that this is very definitely reflective of a broken paradigm in the West, and that is the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
There are many explanations for why the Western world achieved escape velocity, why we were the first to launch the Industrial Revolution, why we created labor-saving devices, so forth and so on. And there is a compelling case to be made that monogamy and the nuclear family and basically investing in minimal offspring heavily, as opposed to having lots of children with low parental investment, that is a strategy conducive to a dynamic Western society. Elon Musk, obviously, is illustrating something quite different. Now, I suppose you could say Elon Musk is a billionaire, so he's an outlier case. He's not representative, except if you look at the broader data, what Elon Musk is doing is an extreme, to be sure, but more and more women are clustering around fewer and fewer and fewer men. And this is causing massive social problems. It's causing an explosion of illegitimate birth rates, for example. I think it's almost like 50% in the white population. Now, if you go back to the 1960s, excuse me, Daniel Patrick Moynihan. One second, guys.
Holding back the cough. I know the feeling.
Oh my goodness.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, I'm dry today. Must be Elon Musk.
He sent a
Elon Musk is
bio-nano
making
weapon
him
at
dry.
you.
Yeah, really.
But if you go back to Daniel Patrick Moynihan in 1965, he put out a report about the Black Negro family. Basically said it was in crisis because at that time you had something like 50% of all blacks were born out of wedlock. Well, here we are today. We've arrived at the same numbers in the white community. So this is a social time bomb exploding, and Elon Musk is sort of celebrating it, and that's a problem.
Right. I mean,
Sorry, guys.
my issue with this is I have a pro-natalist attitude, but outside the confines of the nuclear family, this is a huge problem. What?
Sorry, I was trying to look up this graph and I clicked on images and it didn't show what I wanted it to show.
Oh my. I just assumed that everything had gone south. So it's this marriage of scientism with pronatalism that very seriously concerns me, because we don't know if he was just raw dogging Ashley St. Clair. They might have had an IVF baby.
They might have. And
Yeah.
I think that there's still some questions about that. I've been seeing Richard Spencer is actually wondering whether or not the kid's even real.
Yeah,
Wondering
that's
if the
possible too.
entire thing is just a psyop.
I thought the whole thing was a joke. At first, when I woke up and I saw this shit on Twitter, I was like, this has to be like a troll, right?
Yeah.
She's like trolling.
Yeah.
Something's going on here because she was like, oh, the media is doxing our baby. It's like no one even knew about this until you tweeted
about it, right.
And then you did this New York Post exclusive. And
Wearing a corset.
and you posted feet pics in the pictures that the New York
Right.
Post took of you. And yeah, so anyway.
Hold on.
So I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I mean, I think it's something sinister. There's something really sinister about divorcing procreation from the nuclear family. And as far as Cameron's point about this essentially being modern polygamy, what you can do to she's got kind of nice feet.
You know, she tweeted at some chick who posted her feet, and she was like, "You can't post feet pics."
You destabilize society when you reduce the amount of sexual and procreative access to beta males. That is how you keep society functional. It's like monogamy is ensured through shame and social pressures. People generally don't get divorced, and beta males are procreating with average women. So I'm not really seeing a lot of difference between what Elon Musk is doing here and what Andrew Tate is doing. It's like because he's a billionaire.
I don't see much difference between what Elon Musk is doing here and like Genghis Khan.
Well, he lacks physical strength, so there are broader societal implications.
Right.
Because we can see, as I mentioned earlier, we can see that this intelligence is not necessarily transferred to the children, and is it even good? All right, he has like a really specific kind of intelligence, but major social deficits. And then he's picking these kind of random women with unknown genetic backgrounds, just expecting, and then they're being raised by the mothers, just expecting that his specific genius will be the genetic trait that is transferable to the children. It's retarded. It's like, that's not how genetics works. Look at Bruce, what's his name?
Jenner?
No. You know, the guy from Die Hard.
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, Bruce Lee, Bruce
Willis.
Bruce Willis.
There
Okay,
we go.
Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, both very attractive people, have 3 daughters that are all ugly as hell. They're so ugly. And it's just like that with intelligence too. Like you can marry somebody and have kids with them and you're like, how did I end up with such a stupid kid? And so I think I actually really hate this mentality that he has, where he's like, my kind of intelligence, my being, whatever I am, the world needs more of this.
Well, there is
60%
some question. There is some debate about exactly how alpha, how good his genes are, so forth and so on. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. That's probably somewhat subjective. At least he is high IQ. I think that goes without saying. That being said, to Dave's point, you're right, Dave. There is no difference in a practical sense between what Elon Musk is doing and what Genghis Khan did and what Charlemagne did. These are people that had famously hundreds, if not thousands, of children. Okay,
Charlemagne was Catholic. Okay, it's different when we do it.
Yeah. You can look at the DNA of modern European men, and a lot of them are descended from Charlemagne. However, there is a key distinction here that I mentioned earlier, and that is that today it's a liability for men that are in positions of power. And Elon Musk is in a position of power. He is, in some sense, the leader of the MAGA movement, or a leader of it, okay? And that makes him vulnerable, particularly given the women that he has chosen to copulate with. So that suggests that there is leverage that those women and presumably their backers have over Elon Musk.
Of
That's
course.
the problem.
Right. Can we pull up this? Says she works for Mossad in the...
Yeah.
See, look how ugly they are.
Well, hold on a second.
Wait,
I had this
pull
up.
that up.
Let's pull
see.
this up. This is the Bruce Willis family.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit?
No one is going to tell me. The one on the right is okay.
Okay. Here's what I'll say.
Which one's
The
his
one
wife?
on
Is
the
this his
one on
wife?
the
That's
left.
Demi Moore,
They got
that's a
these
woman
like
he had children
long horse faces.
Yeah.
So the one on the left is ugly, right?
That's Scout. She's the ugliest one. Or no, that's Rumor.
Yeah, she's
I don't
ugly.
even know these names. I can't even
Because-
keep track of my own kids' birthdays.
Because I took an interest in this because they're both very good looking people, and it's interesting because they got the masculine quality. It's all girls. They got the masculine qualities from Bruce Jenner, like the jaw,
Bruce
and then
Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. And then they didn't get the feminine qualities from the mom. So you would look at these people and you'd be like, they're going to have attractive children. My broader point was that genetics, it doesn't always work the way that you expect. Okay.
Well, hold on. So the one with the blue dress is ugly too.
Yeah.
They do
I don't
have
know
that
who
chin.
orange
well,
shirt
Demi
is.
Moore has sort of that jawline. The one in the orange shirt is okay. Just
No,
a big
I don't think that
forehead.
that's a kid.
Oh, that's not one of the kids.
It's the one on the left, the one in the blue dress, and then the one on the far right. The one on the far right is not that bad.
Well, yeah, but then she has this sort of like she just sort of looks like that sort of smarmy sort of like
Which they look like Bruce
liberal,
Willis.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
They have
ugly.
her nose.
I didn't expect
They
to
have
talk
his
about this.
forehead.
For the most part, I mean, if you look at families, there is like one better looking kid than the rest of them. Like that's almost always the case. In terms of intelligence is like 60%, maybe even higher, heritable. So it does work like that in terms of intelligence. I talked to this guy named Malcolm Collins. I don't know if you could pull him up. Malcolm Collins. There was this Vice News article that Vice News wrote an article about him. They did like this whole piece on him. I had him on my show a couple of times, and he and his wife are doing IVF, but they're doing genetic manipulation.
I heard about these people. Are they
Yeah.
the elite pronatalists? They wear glasses?
Those guys, yeah.
You
So
talked to them?
I had him on my show a couple times. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Really? Because they seem really weird.
They're a little they're just different. You know, they're very unique.
Do we have a picture
He's
of him
very
in here?
unique. He's super smart. I don't even know what you're looking at.
This is the Vice News article you told me to look at.
Are they using CRISPR?
Yes, I believe
Yeah,
they are.
so they're gene editing.
Ugh, I hate that.
That's,
And they're editing out the risk of cancer, risk of diseases, stuff like this. So yeah, there they are. Yeah, Malcolm, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like super smart. I mean, he's the one that
he is very
he's the
smart.
one that had the idea that if you have 8 kids and your 8 kids have 8 kids, within 8 generations, you'll have 16 million living descendants. And when I thought about that, I'm like, I need to have 9.
I understand, but at what cost? All right.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between.
There is truth in what you're saying, Dave. I mean, we have access to the DNA, so we know to some degree, certainly in the past, that men that were presumably positioned, either based on resources or who were warriors or whatever, they had more than other men that they reproduced. However, there's a basic philosophical question in this, and I think that's why Rebecca is emphasizing this topic, and that speaks to the family. Okay, so there are 2 interpretations, more or less, of the nuclear family. One is that it is a noble lie, okay, that it's a myth that is promulgated by society, that religion, Christianity, and other forms of it communicate this family structure to the masses, but it's not real in practice, that actually speaking, there's only a small number of men who are alphas based on social status or otherwise that reproduce, and most men don't, okay? That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is that it is not a noble lie, that it's actually essential, it's indispensable, in particular, to what Western civilization has achieved over the last 1,000 years. Now, I take the later interpretation because actually I don't think this imbalance in the sexual marketplace, which is very common, I might add, in Latin America, Africa, Asia, societies where there is not a lot of dynamism. Part of what has made us unique, I think, is that we deviated from that course. Now, there is a lot of evidence to support what I'm saying that goes back about 1,000 years. There's something, you can put it on the screen, David. I sent you the link. There's something called the Hainault line. And the Hainault line runs straight through Europe. And it is considered a way of seeing the difference between the West and the non-West, okay? To the west of that line, basically, you have high parental investment, you have less fertility, you have more delayed gratification, you have higher economic achievement before people reproduce, okay? To the east of that line, that sort of breaks down. People reproduce at a higher level. There's less economic attainment before marriage. There's higher illegitimacy. I do think that there's something very powerful about that dynamic that appears to have broken down. And I do think that Elon Musk sort of shamelessly flouting that paradigm illustrates a breakdown, if for no other reason that he's not ashamed of it, okay? In the past, lots of great men had lots of children, but they kept it quiet because the social ethos sort of decried it, or it was a taboo. Today, that taboo is gone. And that imbalance, I think, is very dangerous, and it has created the sexless men that I write about quite a bit.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And then there's this larger question also of paternal involvement and how much that influences the outcome of any given child. Now, did you want to say something?
Well, I was going to say, I've actually got a clip of this.
Oh, great.
Because I think it's interesting. I mean, you might have been going towards this, which is, Elon Musk's son became
I sure was, Dave. Thanks.
a woman. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for blowing that.
No,
but
that was great.
I was going to point that out and then play this because this is Errol Musk, his father,
Yep.
speaking about it. Let's see if we can get this going.
Elon is a good dad.
No, he hasn't been a good dad. The first child was too much with nannies and died in the care of a nanny. Now, what I'm saying, if Elon hears this, he's going to shoot me or something. But anyway, that's what I think. That's no good. They were too rich, too many nannies. Then he had 5 children with the same woman, 5 sons, all brought up. Each one had its own nanny. You followed me?
Mm-hmm.
When they got divorced, the nannies were 6 on this side and 6 on that side. So it was really a weird situation.
Just never really spent time with kids, hey?
No.
And then this the kid that trans himself, if you want to pull up that People article. In April 2022, one of Musk's twins petitioned the court to legally change her name to Vivian Jenna Wilson, which is the mother's maiden name, recognized her gender as female. She explained that she no longer wished to be related to her biological father in any way, shape, or form. Speaking to the Financial Times, Musk said he believes Vivian doesn't want to be associated with him because of the supposed takeover of elite schools and universities by neo-Marxists. Now, we've really eaten this up on the right, but I think that there's a broader theme here. He says it's full-on communism and a general sentiment that if you're rich, you're evil. The relationship may change, but I have very good relationships with the other children, can't win them all. He also said that he was tricked into allowing Vivian to undergo gender-affirming medical treatments and stated that his son is dead. Vivian responded, quote, "This entire thing is completely made up, and there's a reason for this. He doesn't know what I was like as a child because he quite simply was not there. And in the little time that he was, I was relentlessly harassed for my femininity and queerness. He was there, I want to say maybe 10% of the time. That's generous. He had half custody and he was not fully there." So Elon wants to blame the propaganda that his child was experiencing when he left the mother to her own devices, and he was not there, and then the child was exposed to all of this. And then with this billionaire with this genius level IQ was like, I just have to trust these therapists. It's like, what are you doing? If you're a father and you're failing to protect your child from being propagandized, especially with gender theory, you have failed on a basic level. And part of that is that there was no nuclear family, that just his lack of presence, he was not there to prevent his child from being propagandized. And I think that the son is right in this way. Like, obviously that had something to do with it, but Elon wasn't there to stop it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I lived in California, right? I lived in Orange County. One of the main reasons why we moved out here is because, during COVID, they wanted to vaccinate the kids and all of this stuff was happening in the schools. And I remember looking at just always paying attention to what my kid brought home, what was in their school books. I once saw something about how Alexander the Great was trans, shit, and I called that out right away. So I'm always paying attention. I am at home, in a way, indoctrinating my kids, but in the right way.
Counter-indoctrination.
Counter-indoctrination, but also, I guess you can call it indoctrination, right? Just making sure that they understand what the argument is going to be later on in life when they, higher levels of education, and what the counter argument is, why what they're going to hear is wrong. And I think that this is, someone said in the live chat, the nuclear family is the core. And this is the reason why I'm against things like gene editing and CRISPR, not only because I'm Catholic, but also because I believe that you should be involved as a father, as a parent. You should be involved. The nuclear family is the core, right? It is very important. And so, I mean, that's why I'm against it. And I just wanted to say something because you were talking about nannies taking care of his kids. On Ashley St. Clair, there's a lot of articles out there like the Daily Mail, New York Post, calling her a conservative influencer. This person is the furthest thing from conservative. I mean, you just look at her history, right? Who knows how high her body count is? It's probably in the hundreds.
Probably.
It's probably
Doesn't she already have a baby daddy or a baby with someone else?
A high value looking, at least, man.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, what happened here? She could have had a normal nuclear family with that guy.
Right. It's very, and she's said this before. She's actually have. Well, here, let me just roll through this real quick.
Here, do you want me to click to your laptop?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So she's got a high body count, probably in the hundreds, right? She has children with multiple men. Her kids are, and you look at the Daily Mail article, it talks about how her kids are watched by nannies, 24/7, basically. This is what the Daily Mail article claims. She attacks men, misogynistic men. So she wrote these children's books for a while, like the differences in genders, and male is not female, and there's two genders. But then when it comes to different gender roles, all of a sudden she's completely against that. And if you look at some of her,
Elephants are not birds.
There it is. Pull that up.
Let's see.
Elephants are not birds. Yeah, males are not females. There's differences in genders, but I'm a strong, independent Jewish woman, and women can do anything that men can do.
Right.
And so, if she's conservative, right? If she's conservative, then what does conservative mean?
It means nothing.
It means nothing.
It does
right?
mean nothing.
If you can be a gay conservative or a trans conservative or whatever, conservative and conservatism means nothing, right? And so we have to get back to, I think people have to understand that. There's this tweet that I saw of hers. Let me see if I can pull it up on my screen here. So if you look at this is from Zerka. We love Zerka. We got to get him on the show. Looks like he's making a comeback. I will never sacrifice my values for success. End of story. So that's one.
That is aged poorly.
That's one. Here's that aged poorly. Here's another one that aged poorly. I'm going to. This is from the quartering, which is interesting that they got on you. His audience got on you because he's constantly tweeting. The same
His
things
audience
that
was like just epically up my ass.
I was going to say that, but then you just went to the very next thing. It's interesting because look what he's been tweeting about her, like the same thing that you probably were talking about all on the show.
Yeah, Jeremy's right on about this.
Yeah. Vivek just called out the system for financially incentivizing single motherhood. She's a single mother. Let's go to the next one here. Dual single mother now. Maybe, who knows? Maybe there'll be a third. And then we have this one here. I just want a husband, 2 kids, and a small farm already.
She literally could have had that. I saw a picture of the guy that she was in a serious relationship with, that she had her first child with, and he was accostingly handsome, tall, just like a beautiful man.
He had a beard too,
yeah.
right?
It's like, what are you doing?
I remember him.
You slut. You could have had it all, and instead you were like, oh, I want this penthouse apartment. I want X amount of money per month, and all she has to do is, I don't even know if she carried this baby.
She didn't want that, okay? She just wanted to seek out a dude to have a kid with him for money.
Yeah.
Like, that's what she wants. She didn't want a small farm with 2 kids and a traditional life. You are the opposite of traditional.
Right.
You are the opposite of conservative. You are a liberal whore is what you are. And then on what you were talking about before, I wanted to touch on this. There's this graph here, if you want to pull this up real quick, Dave. Young men driving the decline in sex, share of men and women between ages of 18 to 30 reporting no sex in the past year. Look at how high the male line is. I think I've seen graphs that are actually worse than this.
Wow. Where
it jumped to about 30% of men. So this means that women are basically selecting from the same male pool. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what's happening, and that pool is shrinking, and those women are going toward that pool more and more.
Yeah, but look at what Ashley St. Clair did. Like, she probably banged her way through all of these super hot alpha males, and then she has achieved the ultimate goal. Is that she has high security and she doesn't really have to invest in that relationship. So she's been incredibly successful. I'm sure she's very proud of herself.
How the hell does she have a New York even before she had a kid with Elon Musk? The Daily Mail says that she has a New York penthouse that's $15,000 a month.
Because of the conservative grift.
How? I've been in the conservative sphere for 10 years. How the hell?
Because you talk about the Jews, of course. She's Jewish. She's hot. Okay. She talks about gender and all this low-hanging fruit, the stuff that we can all agree on.
Sleeping around with men is what's going on.
Yeah, right? And then there are a lot of simps out there.
And they're giving her money, right?
God help me. Please send your super chats to...
She's in a picture with every one of these, like, top... She's in a picture with the new FBI, the head of the FBI. Yeah. She's in a picture with Vivek Ramaswamy. She's in a picture with all of these, like, top popular dudes now on the conservative...
There's a picture of her with Kash Patel.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, look at Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, he's got crazy eyes.
And by the way, she's not even hot. Like,
yeah, she's hot.
Look at her face though. She has like 2 inches of makeup on.
She's pretty mid.
Yeah.
It's impressive to me if you can be hot, and maybe I have high standards. I've had high standards for my whole life. It's impressive to me if you can look pretty without any makeup.
Yeah.
She's an attractive. I mean,
I don't like. I'm like.
My wife doesn't wear makeup at all, and I did that on purpose because it's like if I've dated women that wear makeup, and then like they don't have the makeup on. I'm like, who are you? Who are you? And where is my girlfriend? No. So like, I don't know. I kind of took that into account. Like, you know, when I wake up in
Her
the morning.
face is shiny. That's how much makeup she has on. Look how shiny her face is. That means she has cover up on like an inch. Look at how
She's
shiny.
got crazy eyes a little bit. I can see that.
Think about your face going to that face. You just get like orange shit on your face. Like how is that hot? That makes no sense to me. It's never made any sense to me.
I cannot say anything about this because I am wearing so much makeup right now. I am wearing
It's not a shot at you. I'm just saying, like.
In my defense, these lights really wash you out, so I have to really do my saloon whore face.
To me, it's disgusting. Anyway.
Thanks a lot, Vince. No,
Wonderful.
I
just
think
saying,
that
like,
objectively,
I'm married, but if I was just saying, like, if I was looking for a chick, I would
for a Jewish woman, I think she's a solid 7. Solid 7. Do you think she's Mossad?
Well, it's not that I think that she's Mossad. It's that she's said that she's Mossad.
Okay, she's clearly joking about that, although I don't doubt that she's...
No, I don't know. Maybe she's joking. No, she's probably joking.
gotta
But I
be a
mean,
joke,
like,
yeah.
come on, really? Like, you do that? Now, the other interesting thing here is WikiLeaks chimed in on this scandal, putting out a tweet highlighting that Ashley St. Clair's PR firm manager, Brian Glicklich, was paid almost $500,000 on behalf of Israel, I guess, to get involved in the Democratic Republic of Congo, right? He was paid I'll just read the tweet. Musk, what does it even say? Ashley St. Clair is managed by PR strategist Brian Glicklich, who previously received $598,000 from Israeli security company Mer Security and Communication Systems, at the time reportedly to help Congo avoid human rights sanctions. St. Clair says she is Jewish.
How dumb do you have to be
She
to
does
get
say that, yeah.
honey potted with IVF? though?
Bruh.
Like, I understand if it's like some hot chick and you're
at a party. You might be on ketamine, a little bit of ketamine.
a little bit of K, special K.
A little bit of special K.
And then, you make some mistakes. But like, if you get honeypotted and lawyers were involved,
Right.
like, you have no one to blame. You can't even blame thinking with your dick.
No.
We had a
was
few episodes where
premeditation.
we really kept it clean, and then I think that things have deteriorated.
Well, a bigger theme, I suppose, is that a lot of folks, perhaps charitably, optimistically, I don't know, have ascribed a kind of counter elite moniker to people like Elon Musk, maybe Peter Thiel and others. Some people refer to them as the tech bros. There was a book that I think was released in 2010. It's called Coming Apart. It was written by Charles Murray. And that book was basically a compare and contrast between super zip codes where high IQ, high income white Americans lived versus low IQ, sort of struggling Americans lived. And one of the differences between the two, there were 3, 4, or 5 core differences, but one was monogamy. It was marriage. And amongst the upper class, there was a sort of dichotomy in which you had a strong commitment to monogamy in terms of actual behavior, but they didn't actually evangelize marriage as a value that everybody should practice. Well, part of the issue with Musk and others is that in order to preserve a higher civilization, you have to have the upper crust, the elite, if you will, evangelize values that trickle down to the middle class that are healthy for society, that are scalable for the masses. Elon Musk, willfully or otherwise, completely flouts that. And basically, as you guys said, and I think correctly so, his behavior matches Andrew Tate. Now, Andrew Tate is sort of an alpha chimp, in my view, right? He's just a guy in the jungle that has a harem of different women. That's not a paradigm that the rest of society should imitate or emulate, okay? But that's what he represents. And the issue is not Elon Musk per se. There's always going to be actors that behave that way. It's that more and more, as that chart that Vince showed earlier demonstrates, that's becoming the norm. And that's what's breaking the sexual marketplace in half. And obviously, you can imagine there are going to be severe consequences for that.
And do you think it's because of like the way that people are dating now too? Do you think that plays a part? I know Cam,
There are
Cam
many.
talks a lot
There are
about
many
this
reasons for this.
on his
Reasons that
Substack.
I have written about. Obviously, people talk about online dating. People talk about prosperity. You know, women have higher standards. People talk about feminism. There are many reasons, but one that I think gets short shrift is that ultimately what society has to do is it has to create a masculine archetype that holds that as a model for women to flock to, or a father figure, if you will, that women then try to find and then reproduce with. That's called cultural transmission. We don't have that at all. It's completely gone. So basically, what women are doing is they're finding the most attractive male that they can, and oftentimes they're finding fetishized POCs because that's what's propagandized by mainstream culture and society. So there are many reasons, but part of it is a lack of cultural transmission that's creating an archetype that women should aspire to, and they don't anymore. So what do? You basically get women whoring themselves out for people like Elon Musk and Andrew Tate.
Absolutely. And hold that thought on cultural transmission. We're going to talk about that in a little bit after we discuss the ethics of IVF, because the Trump, do you want to pull this up? Is it already up?
We already pulled
Is what
it.
already up?
It's totally it.
What are we talking about? Is what up?
You're the
It's-
tweet. Actually, pull mine up down
This
there.
one?
On bottom right.
Good Lord, you guys.
Leonida, the comedian.
Leonarda?
Leonarda, sorry.
Leonardo
Joni.
Joni, yeah.
Elon has 14 children by 4 different women. Maybe he is a real African. Elon Musk, presented by Netflix. By the way, we're gonna have her on the show probably coming up here. Been talking with her. She's she's been banned from a lot of comedy clubs.
Yeah,
Pretty-
totally.
We need to get her to come out to the Old State Saloon.
She probably would do that. I'll
Oh
text
yeah,
her.
I texted the Old State Saloon. I was like, hey, you guys got to get Leonardo Joni over here. Do a stand up night. Maybe Owen Benjamin will come down. You could have a lot of fun people.
Just one other thing on this, and I know I'm taking a slightly more serious interpretation of it as
No,
I
that's
want
great.
to do, but a lot of people ask on the right, people that are of our frame of mind, that are disappointed with the mainstream, where does change come from? Where is that future leader? Where is the movement that's going to shake up the system? Look at that graph. That's where it's going to come from. That the energy that's building in these men that are between 18 and 40, that are sexless, that are largely male, that have been squeezed by the system, what's building in them is the impetus for revolutionary change. And I say that not just because in a generic sense, whenever you have lots of men that are unemployed, that don't have access to females, you get disruption, but because we're talking about white men. And white men as a subset are different than these other groups. They're more dynamic. So what's happening in them is a permutation. They're rejecting a system that's completely cut them off. That's where the revolutionary activity in the United States and in the Western world is going to come from.
Before we moved on, we were just talking about whether or not Ashley St. Clair was Mossad. And I wanted to bring these, a couple of, one aspect of this up, which is interesting. Ashley had previously tweeted that her favorite thing that Bill Clinton ever did was Monica Lewinsky, right? And not a lot of people are entirely aware
She was
that
Mossad.
Monica Lewinsky was actually a Mossad agent. And I've got here, we'll make it bigger. Netanyahu is said to have offered the Lewinsky tapes to Bill Clinton for Jonathan Pollard, the spy. And what's really interesting about this is that Bill Clinton said no. He didn't let them give him the tapes or whatever. And then Netanyahu leaked the tape to Matt Drudge and Andrew Breitbart. And that was the origin of the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That was, in fact, a Mossad honeypot operation that they ensnared Bill Clinton in.
Right.
Which is interesting. And I think that kind of also explains a little bit about like why when Hillary took over the DNC and they like literally rigged the election against Bernie Sanders. I actually think that the Clintons are like extremely anti-Semitic, like behind the scenes, because they like threw all of those people out and replaced them. I mean, they were still all compromised by Likud, but nevertheless, it was kind of funny to see that like translate into like shutting Bernie out of the DNC election. I thought that was funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you
right,
understand these
Dave.
things.
Go ahead, Vince. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
please.
no, I was just had a thought. Like when you start to understand these things, like when you know that, Lewinsky worked for Mossad, when you know that the tape was traded through Jonathan Pollard, by the way, who was born in America, who was arrested for spying on America and passing secrets to Israel, got arrested, got out, flew to Israel, was given a red carpet hero's welcome by Bibi Netanyahu. When you understand this stuff, when you the Epstein stuff starts to make a lot more sense.
It does, right?
Like when you look at the painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, that just goes to show you that they owned him, right? And whether they were anti-Semitic behind the scenes or not, if they were, it was because they were completely controlled by them.
Have you
by
seen
totally.
Have you seen this one? This is another one of the
Yes.
ones that
Yeah.
Epstein had in his in his apartment.
in his house, yeah.
Yeah, there was this one, and then there was the one of George Bush with the paper
Oh
airplanes.
yeah.
That
So
one's
even
famous.
knowing what we know about Epstein, about Monica Lewinsky, and about P. Diddy and things like that, people are still scoffing at this idea that she might be some kind of honeypot. It's
Right.
How many times do we have to learn?
I don't know. The thing is, what I tend to focus on my show, it's like I tend to focus on the things that I can confirm. Like
Right.
what we just talked about right there, we can confirm. We can connect the dots and we can confirm that is in fact true. What Dave just said is in fact true. When we talk about Pollard, when we talk about, AIPAC and these sorts of things, I don't know if she's working for Mossad. I know this, if you want to bring up my screen here. This is from the Daily Mail. St. Clair moved about a year ago into a swanky Manhattan apartment near City Hall, costing an estimated $12,000 to $15,000 a month. And she was the first person her neighbor knew that had a Tesla Cybertruck and wondered how the young influencer afforded it. So I don't know where this money's coming from, whether it's just she's sleeping around with hundreds of different guys and this translates to millions of dollars, or if she is getting paid by the Mossad or whatever. I know that she is part of this whole
Vince, it's because
right-wing-
she's smart and talented.
Yeah, she's super smart, super talented. I know that she is part of this whole right-wing sort of multi-racial working class populism sphere, like the James Lindsays and the Christopher F. Rufos, and we know Christopher F. Rufo was getting indirectly USAID money.
Yeah.
Yep.
So was James Lindsay.
James Lindsay was as well. And he's the one that's the first one to jump in and defend, Israel whenever someone attacks. So maybe I just don't know. I don't have enough information and so I don't like to quickly jump and say, oh, it's this, because then everything that we say that is true, like that Pollard thing you were going to,
Will be shrouded with conspiracy.
Yeah, people were like,
Yeah,
well, hold on a
totally.
minute, I don't know, you're kind of.
I'm just saying it would make sense, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't be
either.
surprised by anything these days.
Yeah, seriously, nothing.
It's
nothing
all
surprising.
crazy.
Let's talk about this Donald Trump executive order on IVF. I think that this has a lot of implications too. So I'm just going to read some of these really quickly. So he's trying to lower the cost and reduce barriers to IVF. Today, President Trump signed an executive order expanding to IVF for Americans. The order directs policy recommendations to protect IVF access, aggressively reduce out-of-pocket and health plan costs for such treatment because he wants to support American families. The Department of Health and Human Services reported that more than 85,000 infants were born as a result of IVF in 2021. The general U.S. fertility rate, historic low. It dropped 3% in 2023 from 2022, and from 2014 to 2020, the rate consistently decreased 2% annually. So this is a quote from Trump. President Trump has long advocated for more babies and expanding American families because we want more babies, to put it very nicely. And for the same reason, we will also allow new parents to deduct major newborn expenses from the taxes so that parents have a beautiful baby so that parents that have a beautiful baby will be able, so we're pro-family, but the IVF treatments are expensive. It's very hard for many people to do it and to get it, but I've been in favor of IVF from the beginning. Did I cut something out of that and it made it sound retarded?
No.
Or was this just a really stupid statement?
No, I think it was It's just kind of a stupid statement. We're going to do it. We're going to do it big. The best IVF, the most babies
I know,
ever.
it's
Going
okay.
to be tremendous.
Let's
Lots of
talk-
money, lots of babies.
Let's talk about some of the issues with IVF. All right. So for people that are not familiar with the IVF process, what they do now, they typically do ICSI. So they take one sperm that looks good and they directly implant an egg that they've chosen that also looks good. So what happens here is that you are bypassing some of the natural processes that we do not understand regarding fertilization. Sometimes a certain sperm picks the egg, and this is only for ICSI. I think that they do it in other ways as well. Sometimes a certain sperm picks the egg for reasons that we do not understand. When you bypass this process based on the physical appearance of the egg and the sperm, you have a lot of problems. So there is this article I wanted you to pull up. So IVF children, they have a higher rate of physical problems. Scroll up, please.
This one.
Yes. They have a higher rate of physical problems. There's more issues in the birth. So you're looking at more birth defects, more cardiac defects, all sorts of problems. I think that it says the odds ratio is 30% higher for cardiac malformations. Musculoskeletal malformations at 60% higher, genitourinary issues, and then also there are all sorts of problems with the birth process. I'm not saying something necessarily is going to go wrong, but we're really playing God here.
Go to the abstract real quick.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Up there. Okay, scroll down right there. Background.
Right there, background.
Just under 3% of children in Germany and approximately 6% of children in some other countries, such as Denmark, are now being conceived with the aid of in vitro fertilization. Alongside the increased risk of organ malformation, there is now evidence for functional abnormalities due to epigenetic modifications.
Yeah.
There it is.
It's a problem. Do you want to pull up the next article too?
Yes, I do. I want to pull it up so bad. Here it is.
These are studies, yeah.
So much.
Look at all that words.
Studies on long-term health outcomes after ART are scarce, but suggest an increased risk of altered blood pressure and cardiovascular issues for children born after ART. So it's not just that they are having poor outcomes in the birth process and genetically, they also are having lifelong problems because of ART. There are some ongoing studies about behavioral stuff as well, but no firm conclusions drawn. So we will be punished for playing God, right? I am very sympathetic to families that cannot have children. And if I couldn't have children, I don't know that I would be able to resist the temptation to do IVF. I don't know. I am blessed with children. So I really have a lot of sympathy for people in that situation. My heart goes out to them. And I understand why they're doing it. But we have created a situation where we are dividing sex and procreation.
Yes.
And there are, as we've just discussed, there are going to be major consequences for that. One of the consequences that we've seen is this problem with surrogacy. So if you're not familiar with IVF, and I think that this might have been what Ashley St. Clair did, it was Elon Musk's, because I saw a picture of her when she supposedly would have been 7 months pregnant.
Why would she do surrogate? Wait, it doesn't make any sense to me because he didn't even want to put his name on the birth certificate.
Yeah, it's possible that he just knocked her up. But I also saw a picture of her on Twitter, unconfirmed, where she was supposed to be 7 months pregnant. She clearly was not pregnant.
I think that photo was initially from 2024. It was the one of her standing beside a truck,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that was originally taken in 2024.
Has anybody seen any pictures of her pregnant?
Nobody has seen any pictures of her
Just
pregnant.
like Michelle Obama.
Just
no one
like,
has
just
any.
like Brigitte Macron, right?
Right.
There's no pictures of Michelle Obama pregnant.
So everybody's heart goes out to people that cannot have children, and that's what they're thinking about with IVF. But there are these major externalities. Let's talk about surrogacy a little bit. Are you guys familiar with Jeff Younger?
Yes, I'm friends with him.
Yeah, Jeff Younger. Yeah.
So Jeff Younger, for those of you that don't know him, he has been fighting for his life. If you can pull up his GoFundMe, he's been fighting for the life of his son, whose mother is transing the kid and now has legal custody. Oh, that's not it.
That's
not
crazy
it.
that's a
That's
verb.
not it at all.
Uh,
Hello.
Sorry to make you put you on the
was
spot.
not in the
but
show notes.
his son, the mother has helped the child transition. He's lost parental rights, and they're looking at like a gender surgery. I think that the kid is already on hormone therapy. If you can find his GoFundMe to help him in this legal battle, then I think it's up to $50,000. He's going to need some more money.
I mean, I found an article from Media Matters that's trying to get
Yeah.
GoFundMe to platform.
You're
That's-
never going to
that's
find it
ridiculous.
with Google.
Yeah, they're literally like pointing me away from it. Oh, and it also says that the GoFundMe have been taken down.
Yeah, GoFundMe will take your shit down.
I don't want to cast blame on Jeff Younger. What he's going through is very sad and tragic. However, what he did was he had IVF using an egg donor so that the wife is not biologically related to these children that she's taking custody of. Now, why would you do that? Why on earth would you do that? And now he's in a situation because of the IVF process, right? So we have this Jeff Younger thing. Do you remember that story when that gay couple paid the surrogate? This was 2 years ago. The gay couple paid the surrogate. She got cancer during her 22nd or 23rd week of pregnancy, or that's when she found out about it. And they demanded that she abort the child. And she did not want to have the abortion. She ended up having the abortion. But things like this are going to happen with IVF and with surrogacy. And then we've got the gay dads. We've got the Reuben situation. These people that are like that are creating these test tube babies so that they can be raised by gay dads, and like
So they can be raped by gay dads.
yeah. And what
More
about
like
that? Although you would probably just adopt kids if you wanted to
What's
do that.
that called again?
They're literally gonna. They are like they are doing this so that they can rape the kids. Like that's
Yes, I mean there
that's
are
for sure.
Yeah, here it is. This one, right?
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
and then
Dave
I'm
Rubin
seeing,
too, right?
You're right.
Another-
What are we even conserving here? Look
Another
at this.
conservative.
This is just so outrageous to me that they've removed the mother from the process entirely, because two dads is just a totally normal conservative thing to do.
No.
Have you seen the pictures of like the gay couples kicking the mom out of the bed, out of the hospital beds,
So that they could
that
do
they can-
skin-to-skin contact with the baby.
so that they can pose
Horrifying.
in the hospital beds
Absolutely
with the
horrifying.
baby? Someone in the live chat says Lauren Southern walks so Ashley St. Clair can run.
Oh, come on. This is adoption, so I don't think that's
This
pertinent.
was adoption, but still, we all know what these
Either
gay
way.
people do when they get
Yes.
kids.
Yep.
They rape them.
And
gotta ban
perhaps the most unethical part of IVF is that you destroy a ton of embryos. I know people that did IVF that are Christian and that they didn't grade the embryos and they used all of the embryos. Lila Rose did an excellent podcast on this. And then I saw her congratulating Ashley St. Clair about the pregnancy. I'm like, is anybody not a hypocrite in the movement? Is it? It's just so ridiculous. She does a whole show on IVF.
Yeah.
And how the embryos are destroyed and everything like that, and the ethics of IVF. And then she's like, "Oh, congratulations!" Blah, da, 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 da. Like, God, it's like nobody has a backbone in this movement. Okay,
Are you sure it's not like a sort of like a shot at her, congratulating her? Like, hey,
no, she did a bunch of follow up on like how babies are a blessing, even in the situation of IVF, which I totally agree. Nobody's attacking the baby here.
Nobody's attacking the baby. We love babies. I just had one. They're fantastic.
They're fantastic. Okay, so what I
But
want to talk about.
50%, yeah, you said 50% of these embryos generated during IVF
Are discarded,
Are
yeah.
discarded. So that's murdering people. I mean, they are, yeah. Don't get me started.
And this is why Catholicism does not allow for in vitro fertilization.
Correct, and I've got that up.
I was just going to ask, what is the catechisms?
Well,
Under no circumstances can you use IVF.
I will read Pope Pius XII on artificial fecundation.
This is the only thing. Only thing.
What do you mean the only thing?
This is the only Catholic shoe-in.
This
that you
is no. This is the Catholic teaching.
I know.
Period. There is no other. It's been reaffirmed in multiple encyclicals.
No, she's saying this is the only Catholic thing you get to talk
Yeah.
about today. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, it's the wrong browser. I'm trying to do too much here. Okay, so artificial fecundation, IVF, outside of marriage is to be condemned purely and simply as immoral. This is the natural and positive divine law that the procreation of a new life can only be the fruit of marriage. Consequently, as to the condemnation of artificial fecundation outside of the conjugal union, no difference of opinion is possible among Catholics. One more time. No difference of opinion is possible among Catholics. Artificial fecundation in marriage, but produced with the active element taken from a third party, i.e. the egg or the sperm, is equally immoral, and as such, it is to be condemned without recourse. As to the licitness of artificial fecundation in marriage, it is absolutely to be rejected. That is from the Canon Law Digest, Volume 3, pages 432 to 433.
That was concise and like really straightforward.
You're welcome. I did prep this week. I mean the Catholic
teachings on that. There is
no.
no room for, they're like absolutely not.
No.
Okay, so what I want to talk about, the thing that bothers me about this IVF mandate or the EO is not necessarily the ethical question with IVF, which we all have problems with, I think. It is that Donald Trump is not addressing any of the core issues for the low birth rate. Why not focus on the core issues for the low birth rate? So why do we have such a low birth rate? One of the reasons is that women, they need to feel safe and like resources are plentiful before their body will accept a sperm into the egg. So if you see in wartime, I have a link here. During wartime, sharp decline in birth rates, and they've done a lot of studies on this. It cannot be exclusively explained by disease, by chemical exposure, or by malnutrition. So what is happening is there is a massive increase in miscarriage. And the working hypothesis among scientists is that the female body is like, this is a period of resource scarcity, and it just BTFOs the embryo. It's like, no, we cannot do this. So women, when women sense that the resources are scarce, that times are tough, their bodies are smart, and their bodies will just start to miscarry. So this study on war and the birth rate, a brief historical summary, is really good. It talks about World War II. So birth deficits around World War I accounted for 12.6 million of the 22.4 million civilian deaths in excess of normal. And that's double the military losses.
Wow.
So like a lot of the people were not procreating because of malnutrition and disease and stuff, but women were also miscarrying at an incredible rate, above what you would expect from malnutrition and other issues. So we got to make women feel safe. We've got to create the appropriate economic conditions. I mean, can you imagine being Gen Z right now?
I think that's like, in my opinion, I think that's like a very tiny sliver of the whole issue.
Yeah.
I think more broadly, it is the liberation of women that has led to the decline in birth rates. I think we were talking about this the last stream we did, where you guys were talking about a book or an author or something, and there was actually multiple different authors, multiple different scientists that have all come to the conclusion that when you liberate the women, society declines, society collapses, and there's a bunch of different reasons for this. I think that, and I actually posted something up on my Telegram channel a long time ago. I said the majority of the Western birth rate issue can be attributed to the self-indulgence and liberation of women. For example, over 50% of Italian women age 18 to 24 say that they plan to have 0 children, with career being their top reason. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they don't, have enough money or they don't feel safe or whatever. They want to pursue their career. This is like the top reason that women give for not wanting to settle down and have kids. They want to pursue their career. They want to fuck a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why the birth rate's declining.
That
and they
has a lot
only
to do
want
with it.
6 foot tall, dudes that make $200K.
But why is that? Why
because
why
we
the sexual?
let women get too
because
far.
you guys
We have to put them back into the
That's exactly it. Yeah.
We have to.
I don't
we have
disagree.
to roll it back.
I guess I was gonna point out that one of the other things that we're dealing with, I guess, in this society is the money. The money is fucked up. Pardon my French. The money is fake and gay, and they print it away. And so you spend, 400,000 hours of your life working for money that these guys just print. Mm-hmm. And that has made housing completely unaffordable. Gen Z cannot save their money. They cannot afford a house. You do have to work 2 jobs if you want a car, if you want to pay off your college loans. And so there is this kind of foundational problem of the money, the national debt, the taxation that we've been suffering under for the past, however many years. I guess since World War II, right? That's when taxation really kind of started. And so those are all contributing factors as well. And then on top of that, you've got this, the dynamic, I don't have it up right now. Maybe when someone else is talking, I'll pull it up. But there was this chart that I saw, maybe Vince can get it, a chart of how people meet anymore. And that there's this massive decline in who is meeting at church and who's meeting because of your friends. That is all going down while internet dating has basically
here we go.
monopolized the market. Yeah, boom, there it is. And it's just incredible to see this go from 0 to now 40%. It looks like.
Yeah.
And that's not normal. That is out of the norm. And then something else that's interesting is look into who runs Tinder. Look into who runs Match Group.
Are they Christian?
No, they're not Christian. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
they are Jewish.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because this reinforces what Cameron was talking about, which is a female hypergamy and which is basically modern polygamy. I will say, though, that one of the reasons, I think you're right, Vince, about sexual liberation has been this massive problem, but also
Women's liberation has led to sexual liberation.
yeah,
Women's
but
liberation.
the quality,
liberation
but the
is
quality
political
of men and
control.
women in the dating market is generally low. Like it's very low in the male population. It's low for women too. Like women are
but
fat whores now.
Just think about what women's liberation has led to, right? The first feminist movement, the leading up to like total women's liberation. Think about what women's liberation has led to. It's led to abortion. It's led to contraceptives. It's led to low marriage rates. It's led to high divorce rates. It's led to low birth rates. And again, like we're talking about money, we're talking about Gen Z can't save money. The top reason that women give, doesn't matter what country you look in terms of Northern and Western European countries and America, the top reason they give is because they want to pursue their careers. They want to become that strong, independent woman.
But they have to pursue their careers.
They do have to. Well, yeah, if they're married with kids.
No, I mean
It's
they
because you
have
can't
to. You can't just be like, all right, I want to marry this guy and for him to provide for me, because it's not really
It's not
feasible
possible.
anymore.
You have to have two
You
jobs.
have to have two jobs.
Right, but I'm saying to have a kid. But these women are solely interested in pursuing their careers and becoming rich on their own. And
No,
becoming this strong,
they have to.
independent woman.
But most of those women are working menial jobs and they're not making a lot of money. And I think that the
Maybe.
attitude is that like you can't rely on a man to take care of you. And part of that is rooted in truth, because we need two incomes to make any family work.
True.
Look at all of your friends. Everybody that I know, even the people in the best marriages, are in virtually egalitarian situations financially.
But what was the inception of that? What was the inception of
Jews.
women's working? Well, women working. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Who led the
Listen.
feminist movement?
There
Yeah.
are many complications
Yeah.
to this issue. As a baseline, you need to understand that ultimately men struggle for power, but women reflect power, or they conform to power. So what I mean by that is whatever the going paradigm is, in this case, it's feminism, among other things, as Vince said, that's ultimately what they will conform to. So I think we can look at it linearly. If you go back to the 1960s, and I think Vince is exactly right, you have to start there. What feminism essentially did is it turned women into economic earning agents.
Right.
Now, if you look from the 60s to today, you can actually look at a graph of average income levels, and you'll see that women, particularly from the 90s forward, which I'll explain in a minute, have really started to earn income. So it's not just the case, Rebecca, that they have jobs and they're earning minuscule amounts. No, a lot of women are earning a lot of money. Now, why is that? Well, there's two reasons. One is
DEI.
because of the deindustrialization of the Western world. So if you go back to the 1980s and fast forward, what you basically see is that average wages stagnate, particularly for men, because who works in industry? Men do. The manufacturing base of every country is overwhelmingly male. Engineers are overwhelmingly male. Well, a lot of those jobs have been offshored. They were never replaced. But at the same time, what has accumulated in economic power is the state. Who works for the state? Who are the administrators? Who work in social services? Who work in healthcare? It's overwhelmingly female, okay? Females are also overrepresented now in universities, whereas men are underrepresented, in part because women are going to universities as a social signal on the one hand, but it's also a gateway to work for the state. Most men don't want to do that. Most men want to work in manufacturing, or they want to work in industry. They want to work in a more dynamic industry, okay? Now, all of that is bad enough, but then you introduce online dating into it, which Dave alluded to, That starts about 2010. And from 2010 to 2020 or 2024, online dating went from basically a minuscule amount of pairing to being over 50% of relationships are generated now online. That is a massive number. Now, all of that being said, to some degree, this is self-correcting because as females have moved up the dominance hierarchy, society has crumbled. Basically, they've reorganized it in such a way that it's unsustainable. And this gets us back to what Dave said a moment ago, is that the financial system, the financialization of everything, it's unsustainable, right? You blow up huge amounts of debt. The good news is that it's self-correcting. And this is where I depart from a lot of people that think that it's an interminable cycle downward. No, actually, it's not. On the one hand, you get all these sexless men that refuse to economically produce, or they're squeezed out. That means you're not as economically dynamic on the one hand. On the other hand, what you get is negative social energy. So what are these guys doing? Well, they're sort of spiraling into these alternative movements that then threaten to take power. Okay, now the evidence for that I think is pretty legion, but it's definitely happening across the Western world. In addition to all of that, you're beginning to see mutiny against feminism. Now, a lot of this is coming from men that are beginning to hold women accountable for high body counts or for infidelity, things of that nature. But a lot of it is also coming from women, because the numbers of women today that are 40 and over that have no children or not married is double what it was in the 1980s. So the younger generation is actually looking at this, the Gen Z, and they're saying, I don't want to use dating apps as much because that leads nowhere. And I don't want to end up 40 and single and divorced or without a husband, because women that are 40 and up don't want that either. So actually, I think you're beginning to see self-correction. I think you're seeing the dawn of sexual prohibition, if you will, because the imbalance in the system has gotten so bad.
Yeah. I think that, we're talking about solutions, right? Or we started to touch on solutions for the low birth rates in the West. I think that there's a couple of European countries that have attempted certain things. I know that they've given like massive tax breaks
Viktor
out,
Orban.
free houses, right? And it did work to some degree.
I actually don't think it's working in Hungary.
I just maybe there was like a tiny tick up in the birth rate or something briefly. I don't know. It has to be coupled with a setback though. And this is like one of the things that I talk about on my show a lot, is that you can ban dating apps in red states. I know people have VPNs or whatever. To what extent are they going to go through the work to, like, you can ban contraceptives, you can ban abortion. Like they did the first step. Republicans did the first step. They did the,
Roe v. Wade, yeah.
Roe v. Wade, and now we have red states writing their own laws. You can ban contraceptives. You can give out massive tax breaks for couples with children, houses, a reset in your credit score. There's a bunch of different things that you can do. But again, going back to what we've talked about before, it just takes moral courage to do those things. But we have to go back. We have to go back.
Well, that's true, Vince. But again, as I said at the beginning, ultimately what the female does is conform to the power structure. So what does that mean? You have to seize power, right? And once you seize power, then you can reframe, then you can build new value systems and so forth. That's not happening yet. What we're seeing is sort of the self-correction or the self-destruction of an unsustainable social disequilibrium. That's what's happening in the sexual marketplace. Lots of guys are getting pissed off. Lots of women are single and not having children. That's going to produce a reset of the political structure. We just don't know exactly when, but I think it's because of what Dave said, and that is the financial system itself is no longer tethered to real productivity. So all you're left with is a Ponzi scheme, because men aren't driving the economy anymore.
Yeah.
That's the issue, and that can only go on but so far. However, you need a movement. You need a party. I know I'm a broken record here, but you need a new philosophical renaissance that's going to imbue women with the values that you're talking about. Without that shift, it's not going to happen.
And the free porn is the pressure release for the men.
That's true.
Like if they didn't have
that,
we got
if they didn't have that, holy shit, you would be in trouble.
Well, we do have. I mean, there is some interesting
You'd be
stuff.
stoned. You'd be stoned.
But we do have some interesting, and it's kind of a mixed bag. We're not going to get into it on this episode, but we are going to do an episode on it about Opus Dei these guys.
I think we're going to talk about it on Stu Peters tomorrow.
We're probably going to talk about it on Stu Peters a little bit tomorrow, but it is interesting, right? Because this is a very conservative sect of the Catholic Church that is in basically total control of the Supreme Court. They are most likely going to overturn Oberfell versus Hodges.
Obergefell, yeah.
Oberfell.
I hope so.
Obergefell.
Is it Ober?
I just skipped the
thought it
second G or
was-
whatever.
maybe I'm wrong.
Oberfell. So they are going to do that. That's actually coming from Idaho, by the way. I believe it was Representative Heather Scott who is the one forcing the issue there. And
the G is silent. The
Oberfell.
G is silent.
Oberfell versus Hodges.
This
That's what I
whole
always
time,
thought.
the G is silent.
Why did nobody tell me?
Why didn't no one tell me? This is the problem. I get most of my information from reading,
Right.
and so
And so if you can't read,
if you can't,
I remember this one time when I was in like middle school, we were like doing a piece on like Hitler and Germany for like history class. And this like little girl, I think it was Tabby Belinsky, got up to the front of the class, and she's giving her report on the Holocaust, which we all had to do at a very young age. And she said, yeah, and that is when Adolf Hitler and the Nazis began. And I'm just like, it's Nazi. You know what I mean?
and gerbils, yeah.
But
That's
what
funny.
was I saying? So we've got this like kind of Catholic sect in control of the Supreme Court. We've got Idaho, which is forcing the Oberfell issue. That is most likely going to be repealed. We're also going to be, I don't want to spill the beans. but
dude, I hope so.
I might be spilling the beans a little bit here, but we are going to be introducing legislation to ban surrogacy.
Gay surrogacy?
No, all
Period.
surrogacy
Awesome.
is going to be banned in Idaho because we have a problem. Like there was a story I was working on a while ago where this woman up in Kellogg, right outside of Wallace, Idaho.
yeah.
There's really not much going on up there. There's not a whole lot going on.
Everybody
up
has
there.
lead poisoning.
Besides, don't even get me started on. I think that was a genocide, by the way. They killed off all the Catholic miners with the lead. Anyway, so there's not a lot of industry up there unless you're a logger or a miner. So there's not many ways to make money. So there are these women that are like professional surrogates, like off in the mountains, just like popping out babies and selling them to gay people. Like for a living. And
That's
so
awesome.
that's got to get taken care of. That
Yeah.
has got to be controlled. But you're right. You've got
Got to go back.
whoever is in power will legislate their morality full stop. So if they're a liberal and they're in power, they are going to legislate progressive morality as the law. And that's why it's important for, Christians to take control. But I don't know about Opus Dei.
Well,
They're
they've got
kind
a
of a
Let
chance.
problem.
Cameron.
Go ahead, Cam.
Go ahead, Vince. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, Republicans have a chance right now. Like, Clarence Thomas and Alito have been calling for these things to come to them for a long time. Like, Oberfell has been, they've been calling for this to come to like they said the Kim Davis case wasn't a good enough case. They need another case. They've been begging Republicans for another case so that they can overturn Oberfell v. Hodges. The same thing goes with a lot of these things. And so Republicans have a chance right now to do these things.
We should do
The
it.
question is, will they do it? The surrogacy, the gay surrogacy.
They're clearly not going to do it. Look at this.
No, we're
executive
doing
order.
it. We're pushing Oberfell. That is happening.
No. I mean, but the Trump administration, their stance is unequivocally
he has
pro
nothing
IVF.
to do with
Trump
that.
has no idea what he's doing. I mean,
Trump has nothing to do with it has to be there has to be a bill it
has to be a lawsuit.
They have to go so hardcore. It's the same thing what they did with abortion, right? They went hardcore. The state legislatures wrote law after law after law, and they were just hoping that one of these laws were going to get challenged, and a lot of them did. It was only the one that made it up the ladder, or a couple of them that made it up the ladder to the
But
Supreme
Trump's
Court.
stance will reverberate through state legislators.
State legislatures, yeah, maybe. I mean, it seems like they're just doing. They're like Idaho's. A lot of states are doing what they want to do.
I find
with,
this Trump executive order confounding, actually.
Well, I don't understand why he did it, because if you're in the pro-life movement, I mean, like we just had this big win with the March for Life last month. Donald Trump was the first president to address the March for Life. Then we had J.D. Vance, the very first vice president, in person, right? So it's like we're riding this wave. We just overturned Roe v. Wade, and then boom, He goes and does something that is so blatantly against the Catholic Church, and all of these Jack Posobiec, all these guys are silent about it. Nobody is bringing it up, and it's like literally the entire pro-life movement right now should be up in arms about what Trump did and
totally.
about this whole IVF thing, because it's a problem. It is immoral. It's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. I mean,
What do you think? Send us your super chat.
Yeah, we're going to go through the super chats here in a moment. But
I was just going to say, 2,000 years ago, there was a prominent Athenian lawmaker. He's called it was Solon the lawgiver, and he had to institute laws outlawing infidelity, because 2,000 years ago, infidelity threatened to erode the society, full stop, right? It is that destructive. That being said, legislation and wielding power, leveraging the state is probably not enough. You also need social proof. You also need stigma. You also need shame, particularly when it comes to females. And that is actually a better, I think, more corrective program than instituting laws from the top down. How do you get there? Well, you have to have a spiritual, religious revival movement that substantiates that stigma so that the population can police itself. Now, I think we're going to get there. In fact, I think we're already on the road to Damascus, as they say, because the younger generation, there's a comedian, I think his name is Tim Dillon. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But he has talked about the last 4 generations. So starting with baby boomers, then moving to Gen X, then moving to millennials, which is what I think all of us are, and then Gen Z. Okay. And roughly speaking, they're 20-year increments. Well, he colored them. He said basically that the baby boomers were blue pilled, Gen X is purple pilled, millennials are red pilled, and Gen Z is black pilled. I think that that's correct. And I think there's a lot of evidence to support that. Not just the fact that Gen Z isn't using dating apps as much, but also their total disconnection from the political sphere itself. They don't trust legacy media. They don't trust the political system, whatever, okay? Why is that? It's because the fabric of society has completely torn. But when it tears, that then gives you sort of the space to reorganize it. That's where I think we're headed. But it requires that vanguard movement to legitimate it, express it, articulate it. That's hopefully what we can do on the show.
Right.
You need the laws and the power, but you also need that self-governance that's rooted in that spiritual ethos. If you don't have both, I don't think it can be done.
And then that needs to be reinforced with shame. And it also needs to be reinforced with status. And women really care about this. There used to be status with motherhood. And I don't think that we were really seeing that anymore. And so I understand that a lot of these problems are from women, but women need to be governed by men.
Well, it's not just the status thing too, right? I mean, like I didn't even realize that there was a stigma around breastfeeding until we had our first.
Yeah.
There's like a stigma apparently.
Oh yeah, I breastfed my daughter until she was almost 3, and people were like, "She's a little bit old, don't you think?" I mean, like extended breastfeeding exists in every culture.
I'm not talking about extended breastfeeding. I'm just talking about like
breastfeeding
in general, like
yeah.
a 6-month-old baby, and you're like, "Oh yeah, he's crying, he needs to eat," and then some. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know for sure. Like when I lived in St. Mary's, Kansas, which is like a big Catholic town.
Oh,
like,
I'm sure it was just boobs out all the time.
Well, they're modest, right? Like obviously.
Yeah,
but,
babies don't want to be covered, but I'm sure that women were breastfeeding in church all the time.
Oh, all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. But the point of what I was going to say is when I would go out to like Walmart or something, right? And it's like you'll see families going out shopping with like literally 8 or 9 kids, like little ducklings all following, right? But like you'll go out and then like these women in yoga pants will like literally go up to them and be like, "Don't you know that you're like destroying the earth because of climate change? You're contributing to climate change. Like, have you not heard of a condom? Blah, 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 blah."
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, you know, there's like a negative social proof almost with having kids these days.
Oh,
the
of
way
course.
that
There is, Dave,
There
and
is,
that goes
yeah.
back to Betty. That goes back to Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique, in which she attacked marriage, she attacked child rearing as a legacy of bourgeois oppression. And that if you take first wave feminism, which was the vote, second wave feminism, which is basically women's liberation, you get third, fourth, you get all the way to Judith Butler, who claimed that Basically, gender is a social construct. This is where we've arrived. But what it illustrates is the degree to which women are very impressionable. So that can swing both directions. Ultimately, it depends on who that male power structure, who wields that power structure, in whose hands, what men are telling them what to think, what to value, who to date, et cetera, et cetera. So it is entirely dependent on that. One way to look at it that I tell young men all the time is basically men are weeds, right? We can grow in harsh climates. We can come back stronger. Women are flowers. They need to be in a greenhouse. They need sunlight. They need water. If they're not properly nurtured, well, we see the results.
That's exactly true. And going back to the status thing, I know a lot of women that didn't have kids, not because they didn't want to, but because they felt like they had to have a career, because they didn't have a boyfriend that could take care of them, that offered them the opportunity to become mothers, or they dated a guy that was like, well, I don't know if I really want to get married. And then they wasted a few years doing that. And then it happened with the next boyfriend. Like, I'm seeing a lot of people in legitimate situations where they're like, I really didn't want to do this. I just didn't have a way to have kids. So like, let's say you're 22, you've been with the same guy since you were in high school. He's not ready to get married. All right. And you just kind of hang on until you're 25. And then you guys break up, and then you start dating other guys. They're not really ready to get married. Then you're advancing in your career. And then you realize, like, I'm going to have to massively lower my standards of morality. I'm still going to have to work half the time. I'm not going to have any help with my kids. The opportunity to continue career advancement starts to seem really appealing. We're not making it easy for women to have kids. We aren't. And it requires time commitment. It requires community. You need family there to help you. You need help. And women aren't going to do it if they don't have help, if they don't feel safe.
And you, to some degree, Rebecca, you explained why Trump signed this executive order. Look, the ethics of the matter aside, Trump is trying to fix an imbalance that he understands in the Western world. And to his credit, I know he understands it because he's addressed it.
Yes.
Basically, he said Europeans and Americans, the native-born populations, are not having enough children. So he's looking, I think, at some of these high economic or high income level couples that would vie for this option because they're in that sort of upper echelon. Unfortunately, the people that are reproducing at the highest rate, guess what? They're subsidized by the state. They're sitting on welfare.
Yeah.
They're at the bottom. So we're literally repopulating the country with the lowest IQ, the least productive base level of the population, which is the opposite, by the way, of what launched the Industrial Revolution. We know, with based on pretty good data, that the Industrial Revolution happened because you had a population that was driven from the top down. You basically had a high IQ elite that reproduced that middle class, and that drove the innovations from the bottom up, or from the top down, rather. Now we've got the inverse, and I think Donald Trump understands that. The issue is you've got these massive blocks called the state, called the lack of a cultural archetype or paradigm. That's what has to be attacked. Changing these laws, it's just not going to be enough. For signing these executive orders, it's not enough.
That's absolutely true. There was one other root cause that I wish Trump would address. I think that RFK might. But Vince and I have talked about this independently on our channel. So the average male sperm count has been reduced by 50%. It falls 1.4% a year between 1973 and 2011, leading to an overall drop of over 52%. Now, there are a lot of reasons that people think that this is happening. I think that the biggest factor is probably obesity, because fat tissue is estrogenic and it's lowering sperm counts. I don't know that this is really having that much of an effect on fertility, but whatever is going on is causing men and women to be less healthy. We're all delaying marriage, which is causing low birth rate. And I think that we're being poisoned by our environment. I think a lot of this is endocrine disrupting chemicals. And a lot of it's obesity. And they've actually shown that father absence causes a reduction in sperm count. So
there's another angle of this too that we haven't touched on yet, which is birth control.
Yes, and birth control.
Birth control actually changes the way that women sense and detect male hormones. So there's like an actual mechanism I was reading about the other day. I don't have it prepped, but there's a mechanism whereby a woman can actually like detect if a man has a certain kind of like disease
or genetic compatibility.
a genetic
also,
compatibility to it, right? And so if they are taking birth control, there was some study where basically they were like, 75% of the women actually mated with men that were opposite in the genetic traits that they were lacking.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But then there was 25% of women that were completely random. They chose their partners at random with no discernible reason.
Right.
And so the people that conducted the study went back and they asked, why did this happen? Why, what's going on in your background? And every one of them came back that they were on birth control.
Yes.
And so there's this phenomenon that happens too within marriages. And I think it's another reason
Where the
why
woman goes off birth control.
the woman goes off birth control and then she no longer is attracted to her husband.
And then they get
because-
divorced. And this is right before they're supposed to have kids. And then they have to enter the dating pool and do mate selection again off of birth control, where they pick higher testosterone men because they have
Right.
married a beta provider
Right.
on birth control because they're not ovulating.
Yes.
It is a huge problem for mate selection. And I think that this goes back to what we were talking about with ICSI. When you mess with the process that you do not understand of mate selection and sperm selection and egg selection, when you fuck with it, there are going to be externalities. There are going to be problems. There are going to be consequences.
Yes.
We cannot take on this role. We are not God. We do not understand the mysticism of procreation to a certain degree. Scientism, just like Elon Musk, I think is probably further destroying the dating market and procreation and the nuclear family. And I look upon this with disgust, if I'm being frank.
Well, part of what's driving the betatization that a lot of people just don't understand. So you're right, Dave, to talk about birth control. Birth control is an earthquake. It's changed everything. There's no question about it. One of the first videos I made on my channel talked about birth control. The female selection bias ebbs and flows with the menstrual cycle. It changes dramatically, and it will go from alpha to beta depending on where she is in the cycle. That being said, there is a strategy that chimpanzees practice. You can actually look it up, Dave. It's called the sneaky fucker strategy. Forgive my vulgarity. But this is a real strategy that's practiced by beta males to reproduce because they don't get first access. They don't have priority access to females. Now, I say that to say this. There is no question that this shift in the social dynamics in the Western world that fetishize POCs, the politically correct, DEI, ESG, et cetera, has instructed men that tend to be more beta to accommodate that, to assimilate that ethos. And by virtue of sort of evangelizing communism or feminism or becoming more beta, that way it gets them access to females. Okay. So I've seen a lot of men do this. Men that would otherwise be more alpha, that would otherwise be more sort of testosterone driven, that would assert themselves. They actually betatize themselves as a strategy because that's what the power structure, that's what the social dynamics are telling them to do. And remember that most men are beta anyway. This is just the nature of society. Most men are not going to be alpha. Most men are going to be beta. So you take that natural distribution and then you blow it up even more. And what do you end up with? Soy boys. And that's where we are.
Yep, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple of things. I keep hearing, like, a lot of us are talking about contraceptives. Yeah, first of all, on the endocrine disruptors, right? Like, this is a big thing for sure. Like this RFK step in the right direction, maybe. We'll see if, he actually does something about this. But the endocrine microplastics, things like this obviously is a big thing. I think that they said by 2050, 30 to 50% of men will have zero viable sperm. Like that's a huge thing. Obviously, it's affecting the fertility of women as well. You look at the testosterone decline. I think it's something like 2% every single year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think they said that a 60-year-old man today has something like 20 or 30% less testosterone than a 60-year-old man in the 1980s. So this is a big thing. So you've got that aspect of it, right? Poison in the food, poison in the water. So for a lot of the stuff that we eat is like banned in Europe. A lot of the ingredients in our food are banned in Europe and European countries. So that's one aspect of it. But we've talked about abortion. We've talked about contraceptives, right? Birth control. We've talked about divorce. We've talked about, women pursuing careers. Again, I just want to make it very clear, like the inception of all of this is the women's liberation movement. Like that is the core. Well, speaking of which, actually, hold on. Speaking of which,
men and women could stop hating on each other if we could all just come together and talk about how this was the Jews, right?
Okay, well, let me touch on that real quick because I do have something up on my screen here, Dave.
Where is this woman? Here, okay, go ahead.
God, she's so
This
ugly.
is
Can you
a-
take
Hold
that
on
off?
a second. I need to.
Betty
We're
Friedan.
looking at Betty.
I'm just looking at a picture
Friedan.
of Betty.
Look at
Yeah.
this. Look at this woman.
Friedan,
Look at
yeah.
this beautiful
Oh,
woman.
stop.
We should all take advice from women that look as ugly as this. My God.
This is 1981, though. Yeah.
That's not 19. Oh, that is 1980. But still, it doesn't
I
matter.
can't
Ugly
look
women.
at this right now.
Okay, Vince, sorry.
So
go
this
ahead.
is an actual. This is like an actual document from Planned Parenthood. I think this is back in the 60s. This is real. This is not fake.
1967.
1967. So if we look at universal, so this is proposed measures to reduce fertility by universality or selectivity of impact in the U.S. So like
Zoom out a little bit.
one of the things that one of the big pieces of propaganda that was sold to us for a lot of our lives was that the world is overpopulated. We have too many people in the world. We have to get rid of people. When in reality, we look at today, we're in a big issue. We have a big issue, right? We have we're below replacement rate in most countries, and even non-European countries are going in that direction. And another big piece of propaganda that was sold to us was that you can't afford to have kids, right? This was another big thing, that I can't afford to have kids.
Right,
that
right.
Kids are expensive. When in reality, and we all have kids, and I have kids that are teenagers now. One of them is about to go off to college. Two of them are actually about to go off to college. The kids are the most expensive early in life. Or later in life.
Right.
Right. Early in life, they're
free.
They're a lot cheaper, right?
If you're breastfeeding, your kid is free.
Right.
Yeah.
Not completely free. You get the strollers and all the stuff that you can get from, secondhand, hand-me-downs.
You
Buy
get other
nothing,
people
right?
to pay for that for you.
At the baby shower.
Right.
You have
They're
the baby in the bathtub. It's
very cheap. They're very, very cheap early on, right? They start to get expensive as they get older. But this gives you a window. This gives you a grace period. And this is why I always tell people, have kids young. You get a 10-year or so, 12-year or so grace period. And this is going to light a fire under your ass to try to make more money.
Right, to produce.
Right,
yeah.
because you have to. You can't just sit around in your hands and play. You can't just sort of be complacent. You have a kid now. You have to start getting serious about your shit. It's going to make people grow up. And it's going to make people act a lot different if they have
Totally,
kids younger.
yeah, that's true.
And so we have to break that.
I'm sorry, Vince.
Break
Go
that
ahead. Please
piece of
finish.
propaganda that kids are expensive and that the world is overpopulated. We have to break through that. I think that's going to make a big change. And before you get into what you're going to get into here, Cameron, I do want to bring this up. So you look at social constraints. They call for restructure of family, postpone or avoid marriage, alter image of ideal family size, compulsory education of children, encourage increased homosexuality,
Good Lord.
educate for family limitation, fertility control agents in water supply, that literally,
This is real.
this is real, encourage women to work, and you look at the sources down here, but this is absolutely, this is the plan right here. You read through this, and I posted this up on my Telegram channel. You look into Margaret Sanger, of course, as well. You look into her history. And you find quite a few things. She married young to the Jewish architect and aspiring artist William Sanger. Sanger read sexuality. She was one of her mentors was one of the people that came from the Frankfurt School.
Oh,
geez.
God.
Yeah. So Havelock Ellis. Yeah. So anyway. The point is that we have to break through this propaganda. People have to understand that kids are the cheapest when they're young.
Totally.
They're more expensive when they're older.
And also, we're having this lofty discussion about this. Do you think Mexicans care?
No.
Yeah, they're coming here and they're just shooting out babies.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Cam. Sorry.
So that's all important information. It is, and it's crucial to understand how we got here. But I think just as important is to understand what this means, because it does not suggest that the situation we're in is sustainable. Okay. A couple things are happening. One is, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a gynocentric society, which is basically what Vince outlined a moment ago, that promotes a beta male to the top of society. A guy, ironically, like an Elon Musk. Now, we can quibble again about who's alpha, who's beta, whatever. But essentially, you get a new leadership cadre. And that new leadership cadre does not climb because of merit, competency, leadership, dynamism, none of the above. It gets to the top by, ironically enough, exhibiting feminine virtues, conformity, deference, humility, passive aggressiveness, et cetera, et cetera. That is exactly how I would characterize the entire elite class that runs the Western world. Now, when you've reached that point, when you've restaffed all of your institutions, be they private, public, or otherwise, with betas, what happens to your society? You stop producing, you're no longer industrial, and the social fabric sort of falls apart. However, there's another component to this. Those alpha males, the true alphas, if you will, that are sort of discarded, that are compressed by that system, what do? They rebel, they radicalize, okay? And they radicalize until the whole system sort of resets, until it reorganizes itself, right? This is why there's a chemist named Prigozhin who said, order does not necessarily beget more order, and instability does not necessarily beget more instability. Actually, instability creates order for the very same reason. Now, one way to think about this, and I wrote an essay about this called Sexless Men Revolt on my Substack that went viral in many ways because I think it tapped into what a lot of men intuitively are sensing. But basically, there is a kind of primal horde that's coming. Now, the primal horde was an idea expressed by Charles Darwin and Sigmund Freud that basically said in the distant past, you had these alpha tyrants that monopolized control of all the females and all the resources until eventually you had a tyrannicide, you had a patricide. We've arrived. This is where we are. This is what's coming. This is what MAGA sort of conceals. And in my view, that's what's going to change the whole system.
Yeah, I got it up here on my screen, his Substack. It's a really good Substack. You guys should make sure to go check it out, nighttraveler.com.
Night Traveler with a K.
Sexless
Men in the City. Men in the City.
Men in the City. Sexless Men Revolt. I remember, and I saw your YouTube short that you did about that too. That was really good.
Criminally undersubscribed YouTube channel.
Yeah, you
Neo-masculinity.
Go check that out.
True.
Oh, Gen Alpha. My son's Gen Alpha. So Gen Alpha is anyone who was born after 2010.
Oh,
so
interesting.
My
Lord.
son.
There's a horde coming up that's like
Yeah.
worse than Zoomers.
Oh no, they're hardcore.
No, we love the
dude.
Zoomers.
They're hardcore. Like,
Yeah.
I was talking about this before a few episodes ago. They're very Christian, and I don't know if it's because of the algorithm on Instagram, TikTok, but they're very Christian. They're very misogynistic.
Good.
They're very based. Nothing offends them. They make jokes about 9/11. Like nothing offends them. And so if it's not Gen Z, it's going to be Gen Alpha. That like what the up and coming, what Cam is talking about here.
Look, I think the millennials, Gen Z. There was an article written in Life magazine in 1960 criticizing the 60s generation as a generation of conformists. Okay, events, exogenous or otherwise, come to the fore and things change. We are on the cusp of a radicalization in a new direction. That's what our show is about, ultimately. That is, I guess, to some degree, this movement that's beneath the surface, that's percolating, that's going to change everything. These things are intangible. They're immeasurable. You can't see them, but they're there. It's sort of like if you watch Fresh and Fit, which I don't, but if you do, they will ask a lot of women. They'll say, how many men do you see on a daily basis that you would reproduce with? And they'll say, well, I saw one guy today at the gym or what have you. And then what they do, and it's a good thing they do this because they're right. They say, well, what about the guy who works at the grocery store? What about the guy who's working construction? What about the guy who's fixing the power cables? Oh, I didn't see any of them. Those are the men that are the movement. Those are the men that make society work. If they're squeezed, if they're marginalized, everything falls apart. basically until they get so pissed off that they take power. And as I said, I think that's where we're headed.
Oh, yeah.
Take power in the form, and the information thing is really big. It's really big. It really plays a big part.
Yeah.
Because we were just talking about like how people were sort of propagandized to believe that the world's overpopulated and kids are expensive, things like this. So the information machine, like it's a very important tool. It in some ways could be even the most important tool. Because we were talking about sort of reestablishing stigma when it comes to things like divorce, things like women sleeping around, things like this. The only way to reestablish that, to change the culture and reestablish that stigma is with these sexless men revolting, and also taking power in government, but also taking control of the propaganda arm of the control of information. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Yeah.
I hope it happens soon.
It's going to be
Just
interesting.
bear in mind that Dave said something a few weeks ago that I don't think was.
You remember something I said a few weeks
think
ago?
Look at that.
I don't
Of
even
course.
remember what I said this morning. What are you talking about? No, I'm kidding.
I think it was an underappreciated comment, because Dave said, when these counter thrusts occur, they can be extremely unpredictable, extreme. They can spiral in all kinds of different directions. So what you want is a reformist ethos. This is sort of what I said when we had Dugan on is, our purpose in this, folks, for those of you that are watching and listening, is to add structure, substance, depth, a Christian ethos to what we're talking about, to give positive reformist expression to this very negative energy that is spiraling in different directions, that ultimately manifests in Elon Musk, who thinks he's king shit of Turd Mountain because he's got IVF kids, right? This is where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I mean, I have grown tired of reading comments about our black pilling, because I actually feel like we are offering a positive attitude about a way forward. That's where we're going to close. We're going to take some super chats. So if you guys want to send in your super chats, we're going to read some right now. The backlash.net/super chat. We'll get into those right now, and we will read all the comments you guys have.
Yeah, we got a lot of them from
Yeah.
both Streamlabs and Power Chat.
Cameron,
Power
that speech
Chat.
made me
Before
want to
you
stand
do-
up and cheer.
Yeah, that was great. Look at this. Pull the screen up here. This whole time, it looks like you've had a yarmulke on. This whole time, Cam.
How do you know I don't?
Look at the Jewish. Look at the face. Look at
How do
the.
you know I don't?
This whole. You're gonna have to change. You're gonna have to change locations.
Just move the light a little bit.
I've been doxxed.
Kvet.
Oh
right.
my gosh, that's funny. I've been saying, we should do a. What do you got? What is the stream chat? We've got the stream chat up. Should we do dating advice on Friday nights?
Sounds like something's burning.
Should we? My wife is cooking dinner.
Oh.
My wonderful,
Got it.
amazing wife, who just popped out our third beautiful child, is cooking an amazing dinner. Honey, what are you cooking? Split pea soup. Oh yeah, we're gonna watch
we
The
go.
Exorcist later. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be wonderful.
Date night at Riley's house.
On that note, Emma sent $5. I don't care how high IQ a guy is. Children need fathers. WTF does conservative values even mean at
That's
this
totally
point?
true. That's the other thing.
true.
Fathers are not fungible.
No.
They play an irreplaceable role with raising sons and with raising daughters. When you have an absentee father, you end up with a son that's prone to criminality and a daughter that's a giant slut.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was
Especially if they're black.
There was a study.
Totally.
There was a study that was done, and it's actually, I think it was Milo that I was talking about this with a long time ago. I can't remember. I don't talk to him anymore, obviously, after he started attacking me.
That's right. I forgot about that.
But Dr. Joseph Nicolosi, have you heard of him? Oh, we should do a segment on, maybe we'll do a segment on like gay homosexuality or something like that. But basically, Dr. Joseph Nicolosi's thesis with homosexuality is that a father has to be two things. He has to be strong. He has to be a strong leader. But what was it? So if the father is weak and the child perceives that the authority rests in the mother,
Oh, then he'll be a huge
they
pussy
are
or gay.
attracted to the mother because of the perceived authority that she has. And then there's if the man is a tyrant, then, because like if the man is
There's
trying
a
to
balance. There's a balance.
there's a balance. So you have to be both loving and present, but you can't be a tyrant.
It's
you
the
can't
yin and
be
the
a
yang.
doormat. There's a give and take, but there's I don't know why I'm
balance with
blanking
everything.
on the actual
Look,
names of it, but
I made a YouTube video called Three Fathers, and the father archetype, for obvious reasons, is extremely powerful. But there are three fathers that men in particular and society in general need. There's the biological father, for obvious reasons, that instructs the young man, basically shepherds him from infancy to adolescence. Then there's the mentor, all right? Maybe that's a church father. Maybe that's a best friend of some kind. Maybe that's a mentor in business. But it's the mentor that teaches the man how to learn a skill or a trade or integrate into society. Then there's the hero. And the hero is basically the father of society. That's why most nations identify with a particular man, a king or otherwise. Without those archetypes, there is no society. Period. There's nothing. There's no family, there's no community, and there's no nation.
Absolutely.
true.
Absolutely.
We got another super chat from Bill Biz, $25.
Yo.
Thank you very much, Bill Biz. Is he a cyborg? Numerous technical companies, nonstop travel, multiple children, countless bizarre women, expansive political and media involvement. Where does Elon find the time? Exhausting.
I'm
That's
not
true.
a cyborg if you're talking about me. Just kidding.
Well, there's actually a school of thought out there, which is really interesting, that Elon Musk is basically just an actor. That he isn't,
I've seen
in
that.
fact,
Yeah,
the CEO of these companies. That he's basically just a figurehead that is making, like, he is the avatar for the deep state, if you will. That he's just kind of this face that they put on so that people like can relate to SpaceX when they hear about it or whatever. But that he's not actually there managing the companies. He was chosen, as this figurehead, and that. So
He has a top ranked profile on Diablo 4.
yeah, right.
Have you seen it?
There's no, he
There's
didn't do that. He
screenshots.
paid someone to do
That's
that
what I'm
for
saying.
him.
Either he paid or he spends a fucking lot of time playing Diablo. But he tweets all day long.
He
Yeah,
does tweet all day
But
long.
you
It's a
can
bot.
you can hire people. It could be a bot. Maybe have you guys seen that movie Transcendence with Johnny Depp? I think it is,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
Johnny Depp uploads his mind to the cloud. Like Elon Musk has spoken about how they have cloned his mind. He's talked. There's an article about it out there. I
I
can't
want
pull it
off
up
this
right now.
ride. I
But,
hate this place.
What if he uploaded himself to Neuralink and that there's just like a computer running his Twitter account and that he's not actually there behind it? Remember,
and that's why he's not actually laying pipe to these women.
could be,
Yeah,
could be.
because it's just like a giant vault filled with his frozen sperm.
But again, these are conspiracy theories. And like, remember a couple of weeks ago, I was on the bandwagon that Adrian Dittman was actually Elon
I
Musk.
told you he wasn't.
And he's not actually Elon
I
Musk.
thought for sure it was.
I thought for sure too, but it's just some guy that really likes him and like is
Sounds
completely
just-
obsessed with Elon.
of course
just like
not.
some-
Anyway,
Go ahead.
Logan Orr sent $10. That Ashley bitch isn't even hot. What the fuck is everyone's problem? Anyways, I'll catch the show later on. I'm on my way out for a date. Good job. Let's hope that she's not Jewish.
For a date, an actual date in real life. How did you meet? How did you guys meet your wives?
I met my husband online.
How did you meet
Oh,
your wife,
you
Rebecca?
did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is recent then.
No,
No.
it was 10 years ago.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
did you meet your wife?
In real life? Dating apps. The most technologically advanced thing that I had at that time, this is 20 years ago, was Snake on my Nokia phone.
I remember that. The snake would be so long you couldn't move.
Yeah. So
I met my wife at a bar. No, we did meet at a bar, but it was
It's kind of not a bar.
it was through church though, right?
Yeah.
So like I met a
church
friend.
bar.
I met a friend at a conference, and we were talking, and she was always telling me about how amazing Coeur d'Alene is, and you've got to visit it. And so then I got a job that allowed me to drive through. And while I was driving up, I called the girl and was like, "Hey, are you up there?" And she's like, "No, I'm not, but my friend is. Call her." And so I called the friend, and she's like, "I'm not there anymore. I'm in Kalispell. Call my sister." So then I called the sister, and she's a nun now, actually, Rose.
oh, yeah.
God bless her. And so Sister Joseph. Anyway,
I saw her pictured. She looks so happy.
She looks so happy. So anyway, we called Sister Joseph up on the phone and was like, hey, you don't know me from Adam. I'm like 3 degrees removed from everyone that you know, but I'm coming to town. Let's get together. Let's have a bunch of people from church get together. And she pulled like 15 people together, and we went to the Oval Office, and my wife came in and instantly friend-zoned me. And I was like, that's the one. I'm going to marry her.
Oh, man.
The Oval Office is a bar, by the way, down here.
Yeah.
Anyway, go
Cameron,
ahead.
how did you meet oh, never mind.
Oh, that's right. He's just
Womp.
he's just
I don't think that
spearing-
anybody on planet Earth feels bad for Cameron.
No, I don't think so.
He's mowing him down.
Come on, guys.
He's making his way through something. He's going up and down that line he was showing us. He's going up and down that
He
line.
looks so unamused.
Anyway, go ahead.
Love you, man.
I'm sorry, Cameron.
Trap Mormon sent $10. Hey guys, love the show. General thoughts on Mormonism. What are we getting right and wrong? I have a hard time with Catholicism, with the leadership being woke, but our prophet also told us to get the COVID vaccine, which I don't like. Appreciate your work.
What are Mormons getting wrong?
I have a lot of thoughts about
I do.
this.
Let's keep this brief, okay?
We'll have to do like a whole episode on it. So, number one, I like Mormons, generally speaking.
So friendly.
There are 2 different kinds of Mormon, though. There is like the Ammon Bundy archetype of Mormon, the kind of like revolutionary, anti-government. Actually, it reminds me a lot of Elon Musk, right? Like a polygamist that is trying to build like a compound in Texas. He's at odds with the federal government. He wants to send people into space and like colonize Mars. Like that's a very Mormon thing to do. Maybe Elon Musk is secretly Mormon.
I don't know. I like Mormon. I mean, every Mormon that I've met out here is really nice.
No, I like Mormons. All of my neighbors
once
are
they
Mormons.
find out that you're not Mormon, they will throw you over.
No,
they
they're
won't.
totally
No, they
fine.
No, I've
they
got
won't.
experience with Mormons. I
I've
know.
even had one who said who was like talking about arranged marriages, like,
Oh, really?
And they're like, "Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Christ?" And it's like, "Yeah, like that's okay with me." Like,
They're
so,
having lots of white babies, though.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and so are the Amish. Amish are
Yeah, so
gonna
I mean,
inherit the
there's
earth.
something there.
There
There's
is something
to
there,
Mormonism.
but at the same time, if you look at Salt Lake City, it's becoming increasingly liberal,
Leftist.
increasingly pro-gay.
And
There's
Mormonism is barely Christianity, and it's heretical. It is.
it's heretical. You guys wear the weird like Freemasonic underwear with like the compass on it. It's kind of strange.
What are you guys getting right? The pronatalism.
The pronatalism is good. I think that the societal pressure is good, like bullying members when they that's a good tendency to have. But there is this like really unhealthy thing going on in Mormonism where there is this like unholy alliance between the Mormons, Chabad, and this group that we're going to talk about on Stu Peters, Opus Dei. That is actually quite problematic. The Mormons also are completely infested in the FBI, CIA, NSA. All of their major data centers are located in Salt Lake City. So there is like a strain of Mormonism where you've got like the Trilateral Commission and all of that.
The point is that every religion has its.
But every
its
religion is gonna
thing
have
that
this.
It's not going to be completely exactly what. Just like politicians, they're not going to be completely exactly what you want. But
We got, and Kai Clips, for example. Kai Clips just came back from his Mormon missionary trip. He's an America
Wooza.
First Mormon guy. Is it Wooza?
No, Wooza too.
Oh,
Wooza
Wooza's
as well,
Mormon
yeah.
too. Okay, so I mean, I've liked every Mormon that I've worked with politically, except for Maria Nate and Ron Nate, who fired me from the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Good people, good instincts. I think very American. So
Agreed.
okay. Nicholas sent $50 as
Yo.
promised. Here's some Skrilla.
Triple
Love the work
salutes.
so far.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick.
We
What
What
really
is it?
appreciate
Anything over 25 is the triple.
And anything
Triple
over
salute?
25 is a triple salute. Absolutely.
Anything over 500 is our heart goes out to you. No, I'm just joking.
Robert sent $25. Cameron is right about Elon's clear desire for societal validation that was absent when he was a non-breeder. If you didn't know Trump was president, you'd think Elon was, especially after that Hannity interview. Weird to see Trump shushed like that. True. Did you guys see the video of X, his son, literally
Yeah.
telling Donald Trump to
Yeah,
shut
yeah,
the
Hey,
fuck
you're
up?
not
I saw.
president. Get out of here. That's what his kid
And
said.
then he like picks
Did you
his
see that,
nose
Cam?
and like wipes his booger.
No.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
He was with Trump. They were doing something. I don't even know what they were doing. But his kid was like, "You're not the president. Get out of here." To Trump. That's what
On
Elon's
live
kid
TV.
said. Yeah, on live TV.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Weird.
What did Trump say?
He
was
sat
just like
there
this. He
and
was
took
like,
it.
Great kid.
The most tremendous
Yeah.
kid. Mermaid Marie sent $100.
Whoa!
Whoa, big super chat. Thank
Big
you.
shout
She's so
out.
cool on Twitter. She's always glazing me.
Christless
Did I say that
Always
right?
conservatism.
glazing.
She
Yeah,
said,
that's right.
Christless conservatism is impotent and ineffectual. Cheers on the great show, y'all. Also, non-lesbo chick simp for Rebecca. You
Here it
are the
is.
epitome of perfection. Also, tell your
it
mom that
is.
I strive to be a mother like her. She sounds
Oh,
amazing.
you hear that, Mom? Thank you
Aw.
so much, Mermaid. I really appreciate you. You lifted me up when I was feeling bad after the quartering yesterday.
We will allow that kind of glazing because it's like woman on woman glazing.
Thank
but if
you.
there are any more men that simp for her,
My
don't
mom is
do
going to
it.
be so happy
do
to
it.
hear that. Thank you so
Did
much.
Cam want to say something about that Trump Elon thing or no? It looks like you wanted to
No.
say something. Oh, okay.
Nope.
Got it.
All right.
Keep it moving.
Take that yarmulke off.
Chinese groipa sent $5. Would you rather raise your family in a community of only blacks, Jews, or gay trans whites? Please rank from 1 to 3 and give a reason why.
None of the above.
Yeah, really.
If you
I gotta
had
go
to,
with. Ugh.
I'd say
I would go with Jews.
1.
Seriously?
Number
Well,
1, Jews, 2 blacks, 3 trans.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not doing this.
You,
I
you
opt
gave
out.
us no option here. I mean, I'm sorry, like, especially if it's like I wouldn't want to live near any of them. No. But I mean, given the circumstance, like I don't expect a guy
Okay, well, I have
to like
I
a
have
Jewish guy to come
daughters.
out and like punch me in the face if I lived in Brooklyn. You know, you just kind of keep
What
your
are
head
their
down.
what are the political beliefs, right? Because I'd rather live next to conservative blacks than like
True.
liberal whites.
True. But
We're
he
talking
didn't
like
say that.
standard.
Chicago level neighborhood groupings here.
Are they gay men?
Gay
They say
and trans.
Gay, trans, yeah, gay,
Gay trans whites.
Same thing.
I have daughters, so if it's gay men, my daughters would be fine.
Oh, you never
Interesting
know. They
consideration.
might pimp them out to their
Well, if you
gay,
if you
lesbian
move to
friends.
DC, you can
Live
can,
around all
Experience
that.
all of those.
live with
yeah.
all three.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness. X at Homo Tenacious sent $5. The idea that women need to work is stupid. A team of 5 men can have more economic output than a group of 5 men and 5 women. Women in the workforce are a diversity tax. Stop hiring women and pay men twice as much.
Great. I'm totally into it. Yeah. And people
Okay.
do also need to accept, it's not just women. Everybody needs to accept a lower standard of living.
No.
They
no.
do.
You don't have to accept a lower standard of living. You can just buy Bitcoin. And as dollars are inflated away, as everyone else's savings are turned into nothing,
You can get rich.
have
No,
Bitcoin,
what I'm
which
saying
will
is-
continue to allow you to live a life at the standard that
I'm
you
getting
want.
filibustered right now.
Sorry.
So what I'm saying is that people, especially women, are like, I have to have X amount of money. I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I think that Vince is totally right. Everybody needs to be like, it's fine to be poor and have kids.
It's
for
not
a
about
while.
being poor
Having-
though. It's just like
No, but it's okay. It's okay to.
a lot of these chicks that are saying I want to pursue my career are making a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
They're making like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But it's also okay to be college age and be like, we don't have much right now, but now is still the time to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot when I first started out either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I still actually am way poorer now.
So this
But for a while there, it was okay. Before
this is
everything went downhill.
This is an issue that I think is pretty deep actually, because there's a lot of wage inflation in the economy. So for example, if you're in the DC area, the I think per capita it's like $100,000 per year that people around here make. And a lot of it is in phony baloney fugazi economy. It's bogus jobs for the government. Conversely, a lot of people that work in construction, maybe they're plumbers or welders, they may make good money, but there is definitely some kind of a distortion in terms of who's making all the money versus who does all the work.
Right.
And I do think when we get a financial reset, which as I've said before, I think is underway, then you're going to see productivity and income paired or realigned, because right now I don't see it. And part of the reason I do think that a lot of these women are sort of pricing themselves out of the market is because they experience wage inflation, right? They're in these industries that have been completely what's the right word? Scaled by fiscal spending, by government spending. So if you get a reevaluation of the currency, you get a financial reset, that might actually stimulate more sustainable marriages, better pairings. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Agreed.
No, I was going to say, if you want to help contribute to raising Vince's standard of living, we have this Bitcoin fundraiser here at the backlash.net. You can go to support the show. You can contribute Bitcoin to us, and
Please
let's just
do.
say that, whatever.
Please
Anyway,
contribute Bitcoin.
Contribute Bitcoin. We're looking to get 1 Bitcoin. We can do it. We know you guys can help.
People are,
Somebody
in the
tag-
comments were like, they're e-bagging. I'm like, hell yeah.
I look
yeah.
great. I look great in that picture, actually.
Yeah, it's a good picture.
Looks pretty good.
It's a good picture. That's my sweatshirt.
You look really,
Mostly
really
peaceful.
skinny, Vince. Really skinny in that
I
picture.
do look skinny.
Wonderful.
In that picture. I've gained a little weight.
I wonder what
That was
Vince
like 3 weeks
James's
ago.
T levels are now compared to a few years ago.
They're
Lower.
actually, I tested them recently. They're high.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're still high.
Good for you.
I don't know. You're looking kind of beta, man.
We'll see.
Looking kind of beta.
I just started going to the gym.
wearing
again,
wearing
so-
Come
those
on, show me
Fruity
the
Pebbles
guns.
shirts. I don't know.
Yo, we got this new gym over here about like
Yeah.
4 blocks down the road. It's massive.
You go to Peak?
Yeah,
I go to Peak.
it's pretty
Never
nice.
seen you there.
It's pretty nice. Brand new. Everything's brand new.
It's wonderful.
It's huge.
Do you guys want to go to
Sounds
Pure
good.
Bar with me?
What?
What's that?
Is that the place where they give you the injections?
No. It's a Pilates ballet studio.
There's this. I hate drinking water. There's
It's
this
women's
place.
only.
There's this place. I think it's called Renew, and they do like these.
Oh, I know Renew.
They do these like not insulin
IV
bags, but
infusions?
it's like an IV infusion bag. And I'm like, oh, that's up my alley. I want that.
Vince James, for those of you who don't know, thinks he can do more push-ups than I can. So if you think Vince can do more push-ups than I can, or I can do more than he can, let us know in the chat.
Yes.
I'd like
Yes,
to see
in the
what you
live
guys
chat.
think.
Well, you're gonna have to come out here again, and we're gonna have to do this challenge.
Press 1 for Cam.
I
Press
know.
2
Yeah.
for Vince in the live
My
chat.
buddy's
We're
on
watching the
Schmeagle.
live chat.
I got this push-up board where you have to move the handles every time you
yeah.
do.
Do
There you
that
go.
gesture more. Yeah.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to do the challenge live next time you come.
live.
Yeah,
All right.
just so you know, Vince, when I do my push-ups, I don't use my hands. So just telling you.
You just do a dick up. I can do a dick up. I can only do one though.
This is a family show. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. All right, moving on. Ked's dead, $5. Dave, thoughts on EMJ crash out? Saw you call in. Just so sad seeing legends fuck up their legacy after they are past their prime. Still love EMJ. Love you guys. Pray for Pope Francis. Very true. We should be praying for Pope Francis. He is sick. He has bronchitis. And he is currently under attack by the group of people that are backing E. Michael Jones. Opus Dei. Let's see. How can we get this a little bit bigger? Okay, yeah. I'm very like monomaniacal when I like get on something. It's like all I can think about.
It's called autism.
It's called autism, I think. Yeah. But thoughts on the crash out? Whatever, man. It's okay. No big deal. Moving on. Anonymous
about that.
sent $10 to counter the argument that the birth rate is dependent on female behavior. The late Richard Easterlin argued that it was the purpose of young men that was key to high fertility. If you are a man who feels no purpose, you have zero inclination to propagate.
Yes.
True.
Right. Porn's a big part of that, right?
Porn's a big part of that.
Bread and circuses.
Amen. It's true.
But
And-
again, the sexual liberation, the core is the women liberation.
yes,
Unliberate us then.
That's right.
we'll throw you back in the kitchen.
Awesome. I love being in my kitchen.
So does my wife. She's cooking
Oh,
this
yeah,
split pea
that's-
soup dinner right now, and it's smelling good.
It does smell really good,
actually
yeah.
smelling really good for split pea soup. Anonymous sent $5. You guys don't understand that serial monogamy is the default in the West. Marriage is temporary and divorce is the primary retirement plan for girls. Morality and principles are worthless if they turn your environment into hell.
Actually, the divorce rate statistics are another Jewish lie.
Are they?
Well, okay, so 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's 48%, but that includes all marriages of any number. So it's people's second, third, fourth, and fifth
Oh,
marriages.
so it's like inflationary.
Yes, and it's compounding. So people that have been married, people that have been married and divorced multiple times, of course, get factored into that. The other thing is that it includes minorities, people that are poor from different socioeconomic backgrounds, and whites tend to do better in these categories. So if you exclude these data sets and you do white people that are Christian, it's under 10%. I mean, that means 90% of marriages are lasting a lifetime within our demographic. It's not that low.
Interesting. I haven't heard that take before.
10% is not great. I mean, it used to be considerably lower than that. One in every 1,000 marriages would end in dissolution.
I remember looking at the annulments statistics, because like the year before Vatican II, I think there was like 67 annulments worldwide, and now there's like 50,000 a year.
Yeah,
it's like crazy.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's a better metric to look at than just divorce altogether. But I mean, no fault divorce should be ended. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
But the spirit of the chat is correct in this sense. A lot of what's happened is socioeconomic, and I think the number one reason for divorce is economics. It's either because the woman starts to earn more money than the man, or it's because the man earns less over time than was expected at the beginning of the marriage. So I definitely think that's part of it. The other thing too is that because the marital laws are reflective of earlier periods of time when women did not have the income earning capacity that they do, if you as a man earn slightly more than your wife when you divorce, you're just destroyed financially, and you're probably going to lose your children as well. So for a lot of men, myself included to some degree, we fear marriage because if it does end in divorce or separation of some kind, not only are you going to be financially devastated, but you may never get access to your children again. You may have to move out of your own house.
Right.
So these are very real things that have devastated men in ways that I just don't think a lot of people realize.
The reinstitution of stigma, it goes back to that, right? Because there was a stigma around divorce for a long time. In fact, in a clip that we're probably going to play tomorrow on the Stu Peters thing that we're doing.
Friday. We'll be on Friday.
Oh, are we on Friday? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
That was tomorrow. Anyway.
There was just to hammer this point home, when Bezos was squabbling with his ex-wife, there was some fear inside Amazon that his wife could potentially become the CEO of the company because by virtue of having 50% of his wealth, she had access to his preferred shares.
Oh, wow.
So that's why he paid her off with a massive sum, because a corporate takeover was definitely possible if he had not done so.
Right. There always has been a large risk for men that are trying to procreate, though. And we just did an entire show about having children outside of the confines of a nuclear family and how detrimental that is to society. So, you have to weigh your factors. It's like, okay, my genetic line is going to end with me and everything that my ancestors have strived for and gotten their legs blown off in trenches for and everything like that, just gone, just forever gone. If you're okay with that, and that is not, and that's not as frightening to you as losing half of your income,
right?
Then
it's crazy.
Hold on a second.
Part of what I'm saying is that we need a reformist ethos, right? We're going to have to reevaluate marriage laws too.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
What the answer to that is, I don't know. I don't exactly know how they should be rewritten. I just know they should be rewritten.
Well, I was going to say, Anonymous sent us another $5 just to follow up on my point about Easterlin. The seeds of our economics, migration, university, and feminism are hostile factors in young men building wealth early and subsequently deciding to have children. It's these three things that annihilate race. So sorry, before we got too far off, I just wanted to make sure that that's all part of the same.
Look, the incentive structure is just not there. And I do think that most men, and again, I've said before, right? I think all of you agree. You're more emphatic on this point than I am. We're spiritual beings. Okay, so I think there's a natural law, there's a natural gravity that pulls men and women together. That's why I said at the beginning, I don't buy the notion that monogamy is a noble lie. A lot of people think that. I don't think so. I think, especially for Western peoples, it comes naturally to us, which is why so many people are unhappy today, because they're not married, they don't have a family, so forth and so on. That being said, you have to have an incentive structure. You have to have a mechanism by which these various genders sort of channel together and permit men the scaffolding to actually build the infrastructure to have a family and all the rest of it. That has been dislodged, if not destroyed, over the last 50 years, and we've got to rebuild it. No question about it.
Yeah. All right, moving along. Tiger Shark sent $50.
Yo!
Triple salute. Thank you very much. You guys are on fire tonight.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it was such a great show.
Thank you very much.
Great
Yeah,
show, guys.
This was good. Ked's Dead, $5. I've already asked Vince, but I'm 34 with my first daughter. Any advice on being a good dad? Also, can you link Cameron's Substack in the description? God bless.
Will do.
We will put that in the description. Vince?
What are you guys looking at? He just said he already asked me.
Wait, what? I think he said do you have any advice?
Do you have any advice on being a good dad
He
with
said
his first
he
daughter?
already asked me. I think he's asking you, but
Oh.
I mean, it's a big question. I guess what does that pertain to exactly? I mean, I think we've sort of covered it, right? There's got to be a balance,
Got to be present.
right? There's got to be a balance, and I think you just got to protect them, man. That's like
That
the
is the
number
thing.
one thing.
The
just
role of a
protect 'em.
father, the number one role is to make sure that their daughter doesn't turn out to be a slut.
Well, also, yeah,
Give
and
the daughter,
also-
give her attention, right? Because if the daughter isn't getting attention for doing good things with her father, then she's going to begin seeking out attention
Exactly.
from other males.
You know what I
outside
read
of
that
the
was really
home.
interesting? Fathers that change the diapers of their daughters have better relationships with men.
Interesting.
So I wonder if that's like a way of you interacting with your child where they feel like bonded to the father and they aren't seeking out that validation from outside sources later.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it's about the diapers or if it's
I
about,
don't.
you know.
Yeah, I think that's a weird correlation. Doesn't always equal causation, as they say, right? I think that just might be that those fathers are probably more likely to be more involved in their kids' lives.
Right.
Yeah. I think, I mean, the big thing that we do that I think is like really important is praying the rosary together as a family every day, or trying it every day. You know, pray to family.
Families that pray together stay together. Yeah.
That's my grandfather said that. So
I think it was like 1 in 1,000 get divorced that pray for 5 minutes every day.
yeah, there you go. So I mean, I think that's if you're even thinking about that and you're concerned about whether or not you're going to be a good father, you're already on the right path. You're already conscious about the fact that you're a father. You understand the responsibility that you have. So don't beat yourself
Yeah,
up.
I just wanted to say, I don't have children. I'm in no position to say, but I do think the three of you are excellent parents. Obviously, I saw that firsthand.
Oh,
Thank
thank
But,
you.
What I tell young men, and these conversations come up a lot because so many guys these days get tattoos or they do drugs. They embrace a kind of reckless adventurism because they say, hey, what does it matter? And one of the questions I always ask them is like, if you had children, would you want them to do it? Right. And all of a sudden, when you think about things from that vantage point, it does tend to reframe good and evil or right from wrong. In a sense, strive to be the archetype for your children. You know, if you're a father and you have a daughter, strive to be the man that you would want her to end up with. Right. I think that's the best that any of us can do. Strive to be the archetype. You're never going to realize that ideal. We're all flawed as human beings, but strive to be that archetype
Totally.
that your children should want to become as well.
And you fail every day at parenting, but you just keep trying to do it better
up
the
and try
next
again.
day. Get up and try again.
Anonymous sent $5. Isn't Cameron's argument about a male revolution the same as the pro-revolution that never came in 150 years? Young men are broke and in debt. They have no economic power and no say in anything. Only family planning, top-down policies will work. Cameron?
You know, this is a really good question because I think it's setting the stage for a future show that Rebecca and I are working on as we speak.
Yes.
There is an essay that I have planned to write, but I just haven't written it yet. I agree with what this person is saying, and I'll tell you why. The Marxists for decades would sort of evangelize revolution, right? This is the classic Marxist framework that the proletariat at some point in the future would rebel. That really didn't happen. I mean, you had revolutions of sorts, but most of the time they failed. They were incoherent. Maybe they never achieved launch anyway. However, what does tend to catalyze revolutions are revolutionary movements, are vanguards, are leadership cadres of sorts that organize the frustration of the masses. This is what our side is lacking. And so you're exactly right. If we do not have an alternative party of sorts, if we do not have a movement, then the frustration of these men will be wasted. And I don't want to see that happen.
True. Here, we've got the next one. Let's see. Anonymous sent $5. Serial monogamy is partner after partner after partner, but not at one time. In the manosphere, it's called hypergamy, but guys do it too. Our society is more about splitting time and separating partners for hobbies or jobs.
I don't think that hypergamy and serial monogamy are the same thing, though, because when I see women that are engaged in serial monogamy, it's almost always because the man will not commit, and then they end up with somebody exactly like the guy that they were with before. I'm not seeing women like trade up very successfully.
Interesting. Cameron, any thoughts?
Can you read it one more time, the super chat?
Yeah, I can. It said serial monogamy is partner after partner after partner, but not at one time. In the manosphere, it's called hypergamy, but guys do it too. Our society is more about splitting time and separating partners for hobbies or jobs.
Yeah, so Rebecca's right. I mean, hypergamy for women is something different. If I recall correctly, the term actually comes from India. And I forget the sociologist who coined it, but basically what they notice is that women tended to marry up in class, literally like caste, okay? So that's really what it means. It's a bit more fungible in the West, but basically what it's degenerated into, I guess, is you're marrying guys that are of a certain height or a certain income. And actually, if you look at online data, those are the two metrics that women prioritize above everything else. So they want guys that are above 6 foot or above 6'3" or whatever, the number keeps moving up, or they want men that are at a certain income level. That seems to communicate that class. Men are a bit different. Men ultimately break into two camps. Either they're alphas that command lots of female attention and they tend to have their choice, and that's what in the manosphere they call spinning plates. So they just cycle through women. Now, sometimes they reproduce, sometimes they don't. Those who reproduce sort of look like Andrew Tate, okay? They just, or Elon Musk, I guess. They just have lots of children. But a lot of men, they don't. I'm not sure that that's the same. Really, it's a question of, do you want to create a tribe of offspring, or do you just want sexual gratification? Most men, however, they take what they can get.
I thought that I thought hypergamy had to do with like a woman would date a man of a certain social class and then get the social proof that she's with the man.
And then she would use that social proof to leverage it.
Yeah. A higher value man. Then she leaves the first partner, goes to the second partner, and then the process begins again. Or is it something called monkey branching? No.
Hypergamy just means, it just means that women, to use Jordan Peterson's explanation, women marry up on the dominance hierarchy. That's it. They just marry above their social class.
Interesting.
That's it. Now that social class, however, is conditioned based on social proof, Dave. That's what you're getting at. So in other words, as I said earlier, right, the power structure sort of defines what that social proof is. There's certain phenotypes that women, gravitate towards, men that are taller, more physically robust, maybe they have symmetrical faces, whatever. But then there's a whole lot of other things, right? So one of the things that's happening now that I've talked about is that a lot of women, I would say very high quality women, high IQ white women, are actually marrying colored people. They're marrying POCs. Now, why are they doing that? They're doing that because they're fetishized by mainstream culture. So that's another form of hypergamy, but you could argue that it's working in the opposite direction. But based on that social proof that's inculcated in them from mainstream culture, that's what they're doing.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, moving over to Streamlabs, we got this one from E. Gren. There are 5 movies and 2 shows I hope you guys would like. I'll email. The 2 guests I think are helpful to bring on the show is Asha Logos and Corey Mahler. David, I expect much use of the 3 laws of thought and Bible verses as they are counterpart from you. Yeah, Corey Mahler and I, we follow up. We're mutuals on Twitter. He actually just did this debate with
Adam Green.
another mutual of mine, Adam Green.
It was good.
And I think he wiped the floor with Adam, to be quite honest.
We're biased, though.
I like Adam as a friend. I don't like what he says about Jesus or the church or any of that. But
And Aja Logos I talked to, so I'll...
yeah, okay, cool. We could definitely set that up. I mean, getting the state of Protestantism, I think, would be a really interesting thing for Corey to go over, because they've been at the center of a lot of controversy in the Protestant church, and I think it's very, very interesting with his. I guess we'll shout out his podcast, Stone Choir podcast. Very, very interesting take. Traditional Lutherans. Oil King sent $50. Thank you. Let's go.
Let's go. Big shout out.
Oil King.
I want updates on the Czech Republic, Ireland, Lithuania, Azerbaijan, Uganda, past and present, as well as Oregon, Wyoming, and Ohio. I don't care if you have to make phone call or news about a cute dog from those places. Please and thank you. Yag, 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 I toot.
Whoa.
Yeah, I tooted. Yeah, this is my buddy from the old show.
Well, I'll give you a...
I don't know. No one ever figured it out. We never figured it out. Yeah. He did call in once.
What
though.
was the thing you were trying to figure out the other day? You were saying that there was some joke that people were telling on your show that you didn't know what it meant.
Oh, about the
Susan?
assistant, Susan, yeah.
Oh, that's a meme.
Oh, is
By
it?
the way, that's like a meme. Yeah.
What does it mean?
Okay, Susan.
It's like... Yeah, look it up. Susan meme.
Okay, yeah. Good job, Susan.
I don't get it. Is it Susan?
I don't
Sarah.
think,
Sarah. That's
Sarah
what it was.
meme. Yeah, it's like a meme. Yeah.
Sarah meme. What?
Is that it?
I see. I can't
forget
port your computer. I mean, we could. Maybe we should do that next
Nope,
time.
that's
We'll-
my worst nightmare. Absolutely not.
We'll have your computer stream up. We'll go to it, and then
Nope,
everybody can see your private text messages.
nope,
It'll be
nope.
great.
I was just thinking about this the other day because someone was talking about it to me. They were saying they were talking about the Greater Idaho Project.
Yes.
It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Greater Israel Project.
Yeah.
Where there's a bunch of
Giga
Eastern
Idaho.
Oregon, Eastern
Giga Idaho, I like
Oregon
it.
counties that want to secede into
Yes.
Idaho. You know, there was and again, now is the time for Republicans to do this because the secession needs congressional approval.
They shouldn't. I don't want to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No,
I have
no,
ADD and I have a problem.
You have ED. You have ED.
I have ADD.
Oh, okay.
I have attention deficit hyperactive
Did you say
disorder.
EDD? Erectile
ED?
dysfunction.
I
dysfunction.
do not have any problems with that department. I don't. It's the most traumatic. Look at the size of my hands, people.
No, but so there was a county that did successfully secede in was it
California?
North Carolina?
Oh.
There was another county in Atlanta that tried, or another place, a town in Atlanta that tried to secede from Atlanta but didn't. It was Buckhead, Georgia.
Oh, I remember this.
But then there was Louisiana. There was a town in Louisiana that seceded from some city. Anyway, so that was like the first since the Civil War.
Wow.
And so now this is happening more and more. I actually talked about this on my show years ago. I said the first form of secession will be people moving to places that match their political beliefs, which we saw.
Yes.
Like in a big wave in 2021.
Yep.
And now the next form is going to be actual secession. So we're going to start to see counties secede from their states, towns secede from their cities. This is what we're starting to see right now. This is definitely the time to get these things done. If Buckhead wants to retry, if certain counties want to secede into, this is going to need congressional sign off. So,
well, what I was going to say, about the Greater Idaho Project itself, I actually think the narrative that's out there is that these poor oppressed right-wing farmers in Eastern Oregon and Eastern Washington are being tyrannized by the liberals in the cities on the coast. And we need to give them shelter by taking them in. I don't actually think that's what it's about at all. I actually think that it's about a land grab and our rare earth minerals that we have here in Idaho. We have gold, silver, yellow cake uranium, thorium, and then also cobalt.
Lot of minerals
there was
there,
a
yeah.
big cobalt mine that they had that China tanked the price of cobalt, and Jerovis or Jerevois, whatever it is, had to shut down. But there is Lewiston, the city of Lewiston, Idaho, is on the Columbia River, and they can directly ship things to China. And so I think it's more about creating a port city in Idaho that will allow us to export our rare earth minerals. And I don't want that to happen, number one. Number two, It is stupid for Oregon to secede into Idaho, because if they just seceded from Oregon and created a new state, we would get 2 congressional districts, we would get more senators, people that would be hopefully more conservative or right-wing or whatever. So I actually want to see Idaho split in half. If I had my choice,
North and South, yeah.
I would cut out South Idaho, make North Idaho and South Idaho states like North and South Dakota, because the culture in North Idaho is very
Awesome.
different
It is,
than the culture in Southern Idaho. So
Just 2 things that I'll add to this, because I support whatever Dave and Vince are doing out in the great state of Idaho. There's a great lecture on the Civil War featuring a professor named Donald Livingston. It's called, I think it's called Jeffersonian versus Lincolnian America. So for those of you listening, watching, go watch that lecture. It is an excellent explanation, historical analysis of what really brought on the Civil War, how it happened, what we were before the Civil War, what we were after. So that's number one. The second is just so those that are listening and watching understand, I do not think secession is going to happen. I think succession is going to happen. In other words, a new regime, a new constitutional framework of government. That's where I think we're headed, not secession.
What type of secession are you saying is not going to happen?
he's saying secession is not going to happen.
Succession.
No, I know. What type of secession? Because like secession, like people are saying in the chat right now, is St. George's that seceded from Baton Rouge,
Right.
successfully. That's the first time that that's happened since the Civil War.
Right.
So what's going to come after that, along with the succession that Cameron is talking about? Like maybe not. It's not the greater and you could be right. Like it could be about minerals. It could be about resources. The Columbia River is the most inland seaport in America.
Yes.
I was just watching a video about this a couple of days ago, actually. So it could be about that. But there are other places that are talking about this too. Maybe there's secession with succession.
Well, there was this state of Jefferson thing, right? Where
Oh, yeah,
Northern
yeah.
California, like Eureka, Redding,
Right.
California, that area,
Yeah.
Bernie, which is a very conservative stronghold. They were talking about, leaving the state of California. Then there was another plan to split California in half down the middle, from north to south,
Right.
as opposed to south and north. So
The more local stuff doesn't need congressional sign off, but for a county to secede from
A state?
you do need congressional sign off.
yes. And then you would need the state to sign on that you're coming into. It's very interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. And also, I mean, I think this guy was also talking about Czech Republic, Ireland, Lithuania.
Yeah,
blah,
I know
blah,
we're just joking.
Yeah. Anyway, but no, we're going to get some people. I want to get some people from the National Party from Ireland to come on. I think that'd be cool to talk with them about what's going on over there with the migrants.
There's a lot of friction right now between Ireland and Israel.
Yes.
That's a subject for another time.
Yes, there is. Edgar Allan Poe sent $25. Elon and his tribe harem, Trump and his tribe son-in-law and daughter, Kamala and her husband, Epstein.
Yeah.
Tremendous corruption from blight supremacists turned our
Yeah.
country into their slush fund. Ukraine and Mexico chose Jewish leaders to get in on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well stated. And again, what's the connective tissue here, folks? And this is why I said, I mean, under normal circumstances, in every society, you go back to the British Empire, you go back to the Roman period, there's always excess. There's always people like Musk that command and marshal huge amounts of resources, have tons of children. That's not new. But the issue is that this man is at the helm of power, but he's compromised because of his peccadillos, right? Because of his behavior. And that is a direct threat to our movement and to the United States, at least
Absolutely,
as
yeah.
far as I can tell. I could be wrong. Maybe he's not compromised, but the forensics certainly suggests that he is, and that's the problem.
True. So true. Nick C. donated $15. At least Ashley St. Clair finally got the bag she was looking for ever since she started grifting. Lauren Southern just had a kid with a Brown and banged Destiny while he was banging dudes. when
At the same time.
when even conservative women are like this, society is cooked.
at
I
the
always
same
feel
time.
the need to defend Lauren Southern.
Yeah.
First of all, the guy that she had a baby with was a fourth Taiwanese. Okay.
That's not brown.
No, we are not going to walk around and act like Happas are the same thing as black people. This is insane. We're not doing that, okay, as a movement.
Kappas.
Maybe we'll have to. Is Lauren still doing stuff, or she's still tied up with the Russian scandal?
I don't know.
Well, you guys were talking about marrying up or something like that, or using your high quality man to get a higher quality man. I forget what you were talking about, but
hypergamy. Yeah.
there's the richest. Ashley, think about this: the richest man in the world, she had a kid with. Like, there's no up from there.
Nope.
Yeah,
Like,
but she
there's-
doesn't ever have to date or get married or anything like that ever again.
Yeah, I don't
She
think
should
she ever
log off.
wanted to.
She should like
She
log
should log off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Log
like
off.
she won life. You won. Congratulations, Ashley. You won life. You've got everything you could possibly ever need. Every desire
I watched
of yours.
the quartering
is-
video about this, and he goes, "We all know that you never have to work again. Good for you."
Right,
That's
right.
how everybody feels. Like, okay, fine, bitch. All right.
Jeez.
It makes me so mad, not because of that, but because of like this is just how women are.
So anyway, Elon, if you could fund our program, that would
Yeah,
be
for
really
real.
nice. You know, like it'd be a rounding error for you.
Well, Dave, you just got to have one of his IVF kids.
No, there you go.
That's the key.
Maybe
Just volunteer.
we can do something completely unholy. Oh my God. Former artist tipped $5. NSSM 200, aka the Kissinger Report, was published in 1974, and the entire thing is about the need to create living conditions where the quality of life promotes depopulation. These people hate our guts and have wanted us gone for a long time.
Yep.
Yep.
I haven't
But the
read that.
depopulation, and this is what Vince said earlier, and he's right, is that the depopulation was focused on one particular demographic. It wasn't focused across the board. And obviously, if you look at the population in the United States, it continues to grow. But they very carefully, surgically targeted white women. And unfortunately, their propaganda took.
Yeah, it's a shame. Humble Radish Farmer sent $10. Great show. Please get Asha Logos on.
Hey, okay.
I-
I'll message him right now.
I know that knew that I knew that name. I see him on Twitter.
Asha Logos, yeah.
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 We're mutuals on Twitter, I guess.
And then we have one last one from Anonymous over on Power Chat. If you want kind of current military update, watch Task and Purpose, S2 Underground, and T-Rex Arms.
Oh yeah, T-Rex arms.
I like T-Rex Arms.
Yeah.
They have a couple of good videos on like ham
Pat,
radios.
what were those two?
Task and Purpose,
Okay.
S2 Underground, and T-Rex Arms. I know T-Rex does some really interesting stuff with like ham radio and like
Yeah.
technology, like mesh networks, stuff like that. I'm really into
I like
nerdy
T-Rex
stuff.
Arms, yeah.
They're pretty cool. But that's it for the super chats, everybody. We are all caught. Oh no, we're not. I take it back. We had 2 on Entropy, and by the way, Entropy is like kind of weird. But
Oh, there was one on Rumble too. I think
We
it
had
was
a
just
Rumble
on
rant?
my Rumble only. It was for $5.
cool.
Let me see if
You
I can
read that.
find it.
Well, while we're looking for that, Star Rover sent $25. Alexander Dugan is the kind of intellectual that Americans are not exposed to. However, he doesn't seem to fully understand the degree to which the Zionists control the United States foreign policy in the Middle
That's
East.
an absolutely justified criticism.
That is true. And then Roald from AC sent $20. This is the best YouTube show on YouTube. Great time slot, well-designed studio, thought-provoking discussions. Also, will anything actually come of Doge findings? The USAID audit didn't reveal anything we didn't already know. I enjoyed the interview. Please keep up the great work. Can't wait until the next one.
Nope. I mean, I think that. I guess it was when I was talking to another group at this studio. So now I have confusion. But I think that Doge doesn't actually have any authority to do anything.
I think they do.
They don't. They're an advisory board.
No, they're not. They repurposed a actual department that was created by Barack Obama. They actually are like incarnated with power. They just rebranded a portion or a subset of the government.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, they have been doing stuff.
They have been doing
That's
stuff
for sure.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting. I was tweeting about this earlier. Elon Musk is now floating the idea of sending out $5,000 checks to every American. with the savings that Doge is cutting from the budget.
That would be awesome.
Oh.
A tax credit or something. You know,
No, he's not talking about a tax
I
credit.
saw the same story, but they were saying it was going to be a tax credit. You know what? Just reset the taxes, reset the credit scores. Give us.
How
like,
about abolish taxes?
give whoever has kids, give them more. You know what I
This
mean? Like
taxation is theft.
that's right. Yeah, get rid of the IRS. I saw that they're going to fire a bunch of
10,000
IRS agents
tomorrow.
Fuck yeah,
Good.
let's do it, dude.
So
Real Jerry.
I would just
Go
say
ahead.
I think what's happening with Doge is noteworthy. Just a couple things here. The Defense Department hasn't been audited since the 90s. I don't believe Fort Knox has been audited since the 1950s. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. But the issue here is we need structural reform to the U.S. budget. That means entitlement reform, and that means defense. Those are the two branches of government or agencies, whatever, where we really have to take an axe and we have to reorganize the government. This is a good start, but the hard part is entitlements and defense. The rest of this is chump change. I am a little concerned that Elon Musk, he sends out a lot of these tweets that appear to be very exaggerated. I guess this is just how he operates. But I don't know that I swallow everything that he's saying. For example, they said they found something like $5 trillion in fraud.
How?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
So I want to see the details. But this is a good start.
Ashley St. Clair didn't swallow when she was with
Nope.
Elon Musk.
Nope.
I agree though on the
Anonymous sent $5. Thanks, Blonde, for the boobs on X. Thanks.
on X.
You should have sent more than $5. You should have sent $50 for this.
See,
Oh,
come
these
on.
used to be
Yeah,
$50
the super
boobs.
chats
Now
have
they're
been-
$5 boobs.
the super chats have been getting smaller and smaller, and so the hair has been getting more forefront and more forefront.
I know, right?
Real Jerry Fletcher, $5 on my YouTube or on my Rumble says, "Yo Vince, I still have a tub of emergency food I bought from your link back in the COVID days. Hope I don't have to eat it all this year. Love you guys. God bless." Well, if you've been listening to Cameron, you might have to eat it all this year. you might have to eat it all this year. What were we talking about? I was going to say something.
Your emergency lube?
No,
Doge.
there's something else. Doge. No, yeah. I think that $5 trillion is probably not like. I mean, if you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent on things like the Jewish Federations of North
Right.
America and Jewish Family Services, listen, all you got to do is actually do the mass deportations, and we'll save a shit ton of money in the areas that Cameron is talking about.
Yes.
Like, that's like the one big first step, but that's not even happening. So
One thing I will say, I'll send this to you in just a moment, Dave, but there's a graphic that was sent to me of housing sales in the DC area. Like everything is going up for sale, and people in the DC area that I've seen, at least anecdotally, are scared out of their minds. And a lot of them are lawyering up, but they're all afraid they're going to get fired. So that's good. That's a step in the right direction.
there's a video clip of we're gonna have to maybe play this next time, but there's a video clip. I think Lauren Nowitzki put it out on Telegram. Boo hoo. Let me see if I can.
Somebody just said that they
Boom,
sent
found it.
Okay, somebody said they sent a super chat on entropy, and it's actually like not showing for me.
Stupid entropy.
Because there's something goofy. Vince and I will work on it
Wait,
later.
really?
Yeah.
Wait, weren't you able to see?
Yeah, but then I had to refresh my browser, and then it all went away, and now I don't get it. It's gone. It's bizarre.
Can I get sound on my Telegram through here or no?
No.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, let's see. Bring it up.
Huh?
This is only.
I sent you the
Make sure that
screenshot,
your
Dave,
output-
of the housing market.
Make sure that your audio output is correct.
What?
We should figure it out on air.
We're gonna figure it out next time. How about that?
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway,
Should work. I don't know why it doesn't work. It works on mine. All right, go ahead.
you have to have the right output.
Yup.
We're all
I
caught up
sent-
on
I
People
sent- I
super
people
sent you
like
the-
the
I
small
sent you
talk.
the
That's why
tweet,
Nick's
Dave.
show is so popular. Go ahead.
Nick's show is very good. It's fun.
What, Cameron?
I sent you the tweet, Dave,
Oh,
that shows
okay.
the housing market in the DC area.
Yes. One moment. You know, actually, my friend Lauren just did a really big tweet thread on this too. Here you go, Cameron. If you would like to comment on what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Here. Says the weirdest shit is happening near Washington, D.C. Here's Arlington, Virginia. Everything is being put on the market.
What
Weird.
the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my friend Lauren Walker, Roglu on Twitter. Let me see if I can pull up her tweet about this. Roglu.
Wow, there's a lot on the market in Coeur d'Alene too.
Yeah. So yeah, here's
Well,
the
people
one
are
that she's doing.
overextended.
Timcast did a whole segment on this. Actually, they took her tweet and did a whole segment on it. But she started doxing the people whose houses they were, like, which is pretty amazing. So she's like going through and like finding these houses, and like this one here, Deputy Director of Mail Programs, World Bank consultant, put their home up for sale.
Oh, interesting.
And then the Kiplinger, Washington Editors Associate Publisher, freelance writer, music composer from Mexico. So she's like doxing these people, which is like absolutely amazing. Great work, Lauren. We need to bring you on the show, actually. It'll be fun. We can have you in studio.
The housing market's in trouble in general, right?
Yeah, it is.
Credit card debt's up. People are going underwater in a lot of ways. So.
Yes. Yep.
All right, fellas, we just hit the 3-hour mark.
Is that it? Is that the last super chat?
That's the last
That's the last
super
one.
chat. You call
all
them.
right.
An announcement to the audience. Phil,
Wait, what do you mean you're calling? Did you read them all or
I
not?
did read them all, except for
okay.
the one on entropy that didn't come through.
right,
That
got
I,
it.
God help me, you two.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go.
We are filling in for Stu Peters, who is on a vacation. I think that our segment is going to be airing on Friday. We're going to film tomorrow, boys. So check it out on the Stu Peters Network. This is the Backlash. Donate, subscribe, super chat the show at the Backsplash.
Make a splash by donating
Back-
to the Backlash.
3 hours. Come on, give me a
.net.
break. Thebacklash.net/donate. Let us know if you think that IVF should be banned, if the dating marketplace is ruined, what you think should be done about, reinforcing the nuclear family in the comments below on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. I'm Rebecca Hargraves, Dave Riley, Vince James, Cameron McGregor. We will see you next week.
All
Bye-bye.
right.